The skies above the celestial peaks blazed with fiery radiance, the heavens themselves quaking under the strain of the titanic struggle unfolding within. Thunder growled, and the ground splintered as two mighty forces collided, shaking the very pillars of existence. This was no ordinary skirmish, it was a war among divine beings, immortals, and a figure who defied them all, Sun Wukong, the Monkey King. Amidst the storm of chaos, Wukong stood tall, his golden fur shimmering beneath the harsh glow of the turbulent sky. His body bore marks of countless battles, each scar a symbol of his defiance and victories. In his grasp, he wielded the Ruijing Bang, a magical staff capable of stretching across the heavens or shrinking to a needle's size. Today, it was a weapon of unrelenting wrath, and with it, he had brought the Celestial Legion to its knees. Surrounding him were the remains of his fallen allies, demon warriors who had fought bravely against the oppressive rule of the heavens. Their blood stained the sacred earth, their spirits lingering as whispers of vengeance. Wukong's heart burned with fury, a fire so intense it threatened to consume the skies. He was the great sage, equal to heaven, and he would not let their deaths be in vain. "You cowards!" Wukong roared, his voice echoing across the battlefield and shattering the silence. His burning eyes scanned the horizon, seeking the architect of this slaughter. "How dare you slay my brethren? How dare you betray me?" A heavy stillness followed his words, broken only by the crackle of energy as his staff struck the earth, sending ripples of power outward. The Celestial Legion, once a mighty force, faltered, their confidence shaken in the face of his wrath. They had witnessed his might and knew they stood little chance. But Wukong's gaze fixed on a lone figure, a towering warrior clad in golden armor, his face concealed by a steel mask. This was Erlang Shen, the three-eyed deity and general of the Celestial Legion, one of the most formidable beings in the heavens. He stood unwavering, his divine trident gleaming and his third eye glowing ominously. "It ends here, Wukong," Erlang Shen declared, his voice calm but unrelenting. "Surrender now, and I will ensure you are treated with dignity. Persist in this madness, and you will face annihilation." Wukong's grip on his staff tightened, his eyes blazing. "Dignity? You speak of dignity while standing atop the corpses of my kin? You dare offer mercy after committing such slaughter? Spare me your hypocrisy." With a thunderous cry, Wukong lunged, his staff swinging with the force of a tempest. The two titans collided, their weapons sparking as the ground split beneath them. The heavens trembled as their blows shook reality itself. Erlang Shen fought with the discipline of a seasoned general, each move precise and devastating. He deflected Wukong's assaults with practiced ease, countering with ruthless strikes that would have felled any lesser opponent. But Wukong was no ordinary adversary. He was the Monkey King, a force of raw power and speed, matching Erlang Shen's attacks strike for strike. The battle raged on, Wukong's staff echoing the rage of a warrior with nothing left to lose. He fought like a cornered beast, each blow fueled by fury and grief. Yet Erlang Shen stood firm, his composure unbroken. "Why resist, Wukong?" Erlang Shen demanded as their weapons locked, energy crackling around them. "You cannot defy fate. The heavens have decreed your fall. I make my own fate." Wukong snarled, pushing forward with raw strength. "I will never bow to your gods or their hollow justice. I will tear down your heaven stone by stone." But even as he raged, Wukong sensed something amiss. A dark presence loomed just beyond perception, sending shivers down his spine. His instincts screamed caution, but his anger clouded his judgment. And then it happened. A blinding light, more brilliant than the sun, exploded across the battlefield. Wukong barely had time to react before an overwhelming force slammed into him. It was as though the heavens themselves had unleashed their wrath, piercing through his defenses and hurling him to the ground. Disoriented, Wukong struggled to rise, his vision blurred. Shadowy figures surrounded him, their forms glowing with divine energy. These were beings he had once trusted, comrades who had stood beside him in countless battles. Why? Wukong choked out, his voice filled with disbelief. Why would you betray me? One figure, draped in flowing robes, stepped forward. You have defied the heavens for the last time, Wukong. Your power is too great, your fury too dangerous. We cannot allow you to continue this rebellion. Realization struck Wukong like a blow. This wasn't just a battle, it was a trap, meticulously crafted to ensure his defeat. Betrayed by those he trusted, he had walked willingly into his downfall. You traitors! Wukong growled, his anger reigniting. He struggled to rise, but the energy that had struck him drained his strength. Erlang approached, his trident glowing ominously. This ends now, Wukong. You have brought this upon yourself. With a decisive thrust, Erlang drove his trident into the ground. Dark tendrils erupted, coiling around Wukong, binding him. He fought against them, but the more he struggled, the tighter they became, dragging him downward. No! Wukong roared, his voice echoing as he was pulled into the earth. I am the great sage, equal to heaven. I am the Monkey King. But his cries faded as the darkness consumed him. The last thing he saw was Erlang's cold gaze, watching as the earth sealed him away, his power stripped and scattered across time. And then nothing. Birdsong filled the air as the morning sun rose over Kuoh Town, casting a golden hue on its streets. The tranquil scene stood in stark contrast to the chaos of the celestial peaks, a distant memory buried in time. In a modest apartment, a young man stirred as sunlight streamed through his window. He blinked open his blue eyes, staring at the ceiling as fragments of a strange dream slipped from his mind. Naruto Uzumaki yawned and stretched, brushing off the unease lingering from the dream. It was the same one again, visions of battle, a golden staff, and a voice roaring in fury. But as always, the details eluded him, leaving only a sense of loss. Just a dream, Naruto muttered, shaking it off as he got out of bed. Today was a normal day, school, friends, and hopefully a bowl of ramen for lunch. As he stepped outside, the warm sun greeted him, and Naruto smiled. Whatever his dreams meant, he decided they could wait. Today was going to be a good day. By the time they arrived at classroom 2B, most of the students were already settled in, chatting in small groups or hastily finishing up assignments. The room hummed with the usual morning energy, sunlight streaming through the windows and casting a golden glow over the desks. Naruto slid into his seat near the center of the room, surrounded by a group of friends who naturally gravitated toward him. Issei flopped into the desk beside him, grinning like always. Hey, Naruto, did you hear about the new student? Asked a girl with short brown hair sitting in front of them. Her name was Ika Kiryu, a classmate who was one of the few girls who could handle Issei's constant flirtations without batting an eye. New student. Naruto tilted his head, intrigued. No, I haven't. Who is it? Some girl from overseas, Ika said. She's apparently really gorgeous. Word is, she's already got a fan club. Great. Just what we need, another girl for Issei to obsess over, Naruto teased, shooting Issei a knowing look. Hey, it's not my fault I have an eye for beauty, Issei replied, his expression lighting up at the thought of a pretty newcomer. Their conversation shifted to the usual classroom chatter, homework, tests, and weekend plans, but Naruto's thoughts began to wander. For some reason, he couldn't shake the feeling that today was going to be different, though he couldn't explain why. As the first class began, Naruto struggled to focus. His thoughts drifted to the strange dreams he'd been having lately. In them, he wasn't just Naruto Uzumaki, the cheerful high school student. He was someone else. Someone ancient and powerful, wielding a golden staff and fighting battles that felt like scenes from legends. The dreams were so vivid that he sometimes woke up feeling like he was missing something vital. He shook his head, trying to dismiss the unease. "It's just a dream," he whispered under his breath. "No big deal." Yet, as he gazed out the window, that odd feeling of familiarity hit him again, even stronger this time. It was like he'd been here before, seen these faces, lived this life, but something felt out of place. By the time lunch arrived, Naruto's mood had improved. The strange sensation had faded, and now all he could think about was food, especially ramen. He grabbed his lunch and headed outside with Issei, ready to enjoy the warm weather. They settled under their usual cherry blossom tree, the shade providing the perfect spot for their break. As they ate, Naruto noticed a group of girls walking by, whispering and giggling. One of them glanced at Issei, blushed, and quickly turned away. "Looks like you've got an admirer," Naruto teased, nudging his friend. "Wait, really? Which one?" Issei perked up instantly, scanning the group. Naruto laughed. "You're hopeless, man." They continued eating, the conversation shifting to light-hearted topics. But Naruto's thoughts kept drifting to the occult research club. It had always piqued his interest, though he'd never had the nerve to check it out. He'd heard Ryusuke Remori, the club president, was respected, but something about the group felt mysterious. "You ever think about joining a club?" Naruto asked suddenly, cutting off Issei mid-ramble. "A club?" Issei blinked in surprise. "Not really." "Why, are you?" Naruto shrugged. "Maybe. The occult research club seems interesting. They investigate supernatural stuff. Sounds kind of cool." Issei raised an eyebrow. "Supernatural? Don't tell me you actually believe in that stuff." Naruto grinned sheepishly. "Not exactly, but it could be fun to check it out." The rest of the school day passed without much excitement, but Naruto couldn't shake the sense that something big was on the horizon. After school, he headed straight to the dojo, a small but well-maintained space just a short walk from the campus. The familiar scent of tatami mats greeted him, grounding him in the present. "Ah, Naruto, right on time," said Master Hoshino, an elderly man with sharp eyes and a steady presence. He'd been Naruto's mentor for as long as he could remember. "Ready for today's session?" Naruto replied, already bouncing on his feet. Master Hoshino chuckled. "Still as energetic as ever. Let's get started." They began with warm UPS, then moved on to sparring. Naruto relished the challenge, pushing his body to the limit. But today, something felt different. His movements were sharper, faster, almost instinctive. It was like his body remembered techniques he'd never been taught. "Impressive, Naruto," Master Hoshino praised after a flawless spinning kick. "It's like you've done this before." Naruto paused, catching his breath. "Maybe I have," he joked, but the thought lingered in his mind. After the session, they sat on the edge of the mat. "You've always had talent," Master Hoshino said thoughtfully. "But lately, it's like you're tapping into something older, deeper. Do you feel it?" Naruto frowned. "Sometimes it feels like my body moves on its own, but it feels right." Master Hoshino nodded. "Trust those instincts. They might lead you to discover who you really are." As Naruto walked home under the fading sunlight, he mulled over his master's words. His thoughts swirled with excitement, curiosity, and a trace of fear. What if his dreams were more than just dreams? What if they were memories? The streets were quiet, bathed in the glow of streetlights. But the air felt heavy, almost electric. Naruto slowed his pace, alert but unsure why. Up ahead, he spotted a familiar figure, Issei, standing near a vending machine and looking tense. "Hey, Issei," Naruto called out, jogging over. "What's up?" Issei turned, startled. "Naruto? What are you doing here?" "Heading home from training." "What about you? You look nervous." Issei hesitated before forcing a laugh. Just thinking about stuff. Nothing big. Naruto raised an eyebrow. Is this about that girl who asked you out? You never get this jumpy about dates. Issei's eyes widened. How did you? I'm not blind, Naruto said with a chuckle. But seriously, what's going on? Issei sighed. I don't know. I just have this bad feeling, like something's gonna go wrong. Naruto's earlier unease resurfaced, but he kept his tone light. You're probably overthinking it. It'll be fine. They walked together in silence, but Naruto couldn't shake the sense that tonight marked the start of something big, something that would change their lives forever. The next morning, as the sun bathed Kuoh Academy in a golden glow, the manicured lawns and elegant architecture reflected the calm beginning of another school day. Students bustled through the hallways, chatting with friends and preparing for their classes. Yet, beneath this ordinary facade, a hidden world of supernatural beings, devils, angels, and fallen angels silently coexisted, influencing events from the shadows. In one of the quieter rooms on campus, the atmosphere was thick with strategy and focus. Shelves packed with books lined the walls, and a grand desk stood as the centerpiece of the room. However, the true center of attention was the chessboard resting between two plush chairs. Seated at the board was Rias Gremory, the crimson-haired president of the Occult Research Club and a high-ranking devil from the underworld. Her sharp blue eyes analyzed the board with practiced precision. Opposite her sat Sana Citrai, the student council president, renowned for her intellect and strategic acumen. Despite their calm exteriors, the energy between them hinted at a friendly yet fierce rivalry. You've certainly improved, Rias, Sana commented, advancing her knight and eliminating one of Rias's pawns with surgical precision. You're keeping me on my toes today. Rias smirked but kept her eyes locked on the board. I never play just for fun. Every match is an opportunity to sharpen my skills. Sana leaned back slightly, observing Rias thoughtfully. You've been particularly focused lately. Something on your mind? Rias paused, her fingers lightly brushing one of the chess pieces. I've been keeping tabs on a certain student. Issei Hyudyud. Issei Hyudyud. Sana repeated, raising an eyebrow. You mean the infamous second year with a reputation for being overly curious about girls? What about him caught your attention? Rias's expression softened but remained serious. There's something dormant within him, a hidden power. It's faint, but it's there, and I can sense it stirring. Intrigued, Sana leaned forward. You think he has potential? Absolutely, Rias confirmed confidently. I'm planning to make my move soon. I need to be certain before I take any action, but he could be an invaluable addition to my peerage. Sana considered this, her gaze thoughtful. Interesting. If you're right, he could become quite the asset. But what about his friend? That blonde boy Naruto Uzumaki, wasn't it? He's always with Issei. Have you noticed anything about him? Rias's expression shifted, a trace of unease flickering across her features. Naruto Uzumaki. He's unusual. I've observed him a few times, but I can't sense anything from him. No aura, no energy, nothing. It's like he's a void. A void. Sana echoed, her interest piqued. That's rare. Even regular humans have some detectable energy, however faint. You're saying he has none? Rias nodded, her brow furrowed. Exactly. It's as if he doesn't exist within our world. I've never encountered anything like it before. Sana pondered the implications. That could mean one of two things. Either he truly is just an ordinary human, or, Rias interjected, he's something entirely different. Something concealed even from us. The room fell silent as the weight of their speculations hung in the air. While Sana considered the strategic possibilities, Rias's curiosity deepened. What kind of person could mask their presence so thoroughly? And what secrets could Naruto Uzumaki be hiding? Rias finally broke the silence, moving one of her pieces decisively. I'll keep an eye on him too. But for now, my main focus is Issei. I have a feeling his power could shift the balance. Sana smiled, impressed. You always did have an eye for finding hidden potential. I'll be watching closely to see how this unfolds. Their conversation returned to the chess match, but the mystery of Naruto lingered in both their minds. Meanwhile, Naruto remained blissfully unaware of the scrutiny surrounding him. His morning had started like any other, full of energy and ready to tackle the day. After a quick breakfast, he met up with Issei on the way to school. Their conversation bounced between school gossip and plans for the weekend. So, Naruto, Issei began nervously, about my date with Yuma tomorrow. Naruto grinned, slapping his friend on the back. Finally, relax, Issei. Just be yourself, and you'll do fine. Besides, I'll be around if anything weird happens. Issei chuckled but couldn't hide his nerves. Yeah, maybe I'm overthinking it. But something about it feels off. Don't sweat it, Naruto reassured him. You've got this. As they arrived at school, they were joined by Matsuda and Motohama, Issei's partners in crime and fellow members of the self-proclaimed perverted trio. Matsuda wore his usual mischievous grin, while Motohama adjusted his glasses with an air of fake sophistication. There he is, the man of the hour, Matsuda declared, thumping Issei on the back. We need details after the date, got it? Motohama nodded. And remember, confidence is everything. Make her feel special. Issei groaned at their antics while Naruto shook his head in amusement. Despite their trouble-making tendencies, they were loyal friends, always ready to back Issei up. Don't go overboard, you two, Naruto warned lightly. Issei has enough on his mind without your help. We're just giving moral support. Matsuda protested. With a laugh, Naruto led the group into class, noting how Issei's anxiety persisted. Throughout the day, Naruto stayed close to his friend, trying to keep him relaxed. As the final bell rang, Naruto waited by the door. Ready? Issei nodded nervously. Just need to figure out what to wear. Casual or dressed up? Casual but neat, Naruto advised. Look good without trying too hard. Right, got it, Issei said. Thanks, Naruto. As they parted ways, Naruto watched Issei head home, offering one last piece of advice. Whatever happens, just be yourself. That's what matters. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow over the town. Yet, as Naruto walked home, a subtle unease lingered in his thoughts, a quiet sense that change was coming. The sound of birds chirping outside the window gently stirred Issei from his sleep. He groaned softly, rubbing his eyes as he slowly woke up. The morning sunlight streamed into his room, casting a warm glow across his bed. For a moment, he lay there, staring at the ceiling, trying to piece together the fragments of the strange, unsettling dream he had just experienced. He remembered bits and pieces. Yuma, the girl he had gone on a date with, had suddenly turned into something terrifying. A fallen angel. There was a spear of light, a flash of pain, and then, nothing. The dream had been so vivid, so real, but now, in the light of day, it felt distant, like a fading memory. Issei sighed, pushing himself up to sit on the edge of his bed. Man, what a weird dream. Shaking his head, he stood up and stretched, trying to shake off the lingering unease. I really need to stop watching creepy movies before bed, he muttered to himself as he headed to the bathroom to get ready for school. As he brushed his teeth, Issei's mind kept drifting back to Yuma. The dream had been so vivid that he could still picture her smile, hear her voice. He couldn't help but wonder what she was doing now. After all, the date had been real, hadn't it? With that thought in mind, Issei finished getting ready, grabbed his bag, and headed downstairs. His parents were already gone for the day, leaving him alone in the house as usual. He quickly grabbed a piece of toast, stuffed it into his mouth, and dashed out the door. As he made his way to school, Issei's thoughts kept circling back to Yuuma. He decided to ask his friends about her, just to see if they remembered her too. After all, they had all talked about the date before it happened. Surely, they'd remember, right? When he arrived at school, he was greeted by the usual bustle of students rushing to their classes. Spotting Matsuda and Motohama near the entrance, Issei quickly made his way over to them. "Hey, guys," Issei called out, waving as he approached. "Do you remember Yuuma? The girl I went on a date with yesterday?" Matsuda and Motohama exchanged confused looks before turning back to Issei. "Yuuma?" Matsuda repeated, scratching his head. "Who's that?" Motohama adjusted his glasses, looking equally puzzled. "Yeah, Issei, who are you talking about?" "I don't remember any girl named Yuuma." Issei felt a chill run down his spine. "You guys, you were the ones who gave me advice for the date. How could you not remember her?" Matsuda shook his head. "Sorry, man. I have no idea who you're talking about." "Are you sure you didn't just dream it?" Issei's heart sank as he looked at his friends, their faces blank and uncomprehending. How could they not remember? The date was real, he was sure of it. But now, it seemed like he was the only one who had any memory of Yuuma at all. Before he could question them further, a familiar voice called out to him from behind. "Issei." Issei turned around to see Naruto Uzumaki jogging over, a wide grin on his face as always. The blonde-haired boy was full of energy, his bright blue eyes shining with curiosity. "Naruto, hey," Issei greeted him, trying to hide his confusion. "What's up?" Naruto came to a stop in front of him, still grinning. "So, how'd it go, man? How was the big date?" Issei blinked in surprise. You remember? You remember Yuuma?" Naruto gave him a strange look. Yeah. Of course, I remember. You told me all about it yesterday, remember? So, how'd it go? Did you score a second date?" Issei's confusion deepened. No one else remembers her. They all act like she never existed. Naruto frowned, glancing over at Matsuda and Motohama, who were still standing nearby. "What? That's weird. Maybe everyone's just playing a prank on you or something. You know how these guys are." Issei looked at his friends, who were now shrugging and shaking their heads, clearly just as confused as he was. "But, it doesn't make sense. Why would they forget her?" Naruto shrugged. "Beats me. But hey, don't worry about it too much. Maybe it's just one of those weird things. People forget stuff all the time, right?" Before Issei could respond, the sound of footsteps on the stairs caught their attention. All four boys turned to see Rias Gremory descending the staircase, her crimson hair flowing gracefully behind her. She moved with an air of elegance and confidence that always seemed to draw the attention of everyone around her. Issei, Matsuda, and Motohama all fell silent, watching as she passed by. Rias glanced at the group, her eyes briefly meeting Issei's before she continued her way. But as she overheard Naruto's next words, she hesitated, her expression briefly faltering. "So, seriously, Issei?" Naruto pressed, his voice a little louder than necessary. "Did you get a second date with Yuuma?" Ria stopped in her tracks for just a split second, a look of shock flashing across her face before she quickly composed herself and continued walking. Issei, who had been about to respond to Naruto, caught the brief change in Rias's demeanor and felt his confusion deepen even further. "No," Issei finally replied, his voice uncertain. She just disappeared." Naruto frowned, clearly puzzled. Weird. Maybe she had to leave town or something. But still, that doesn't explain why no one else remembers her. Issei nodded, his thoughts swirling with unanswered questions. Yeah, it's like she just vanished from everyone's memory. Except for you. Naruto clapped Issei on the back, trying to lighten the mood. Well, whatever it is, we'll figure it out. And hey, if you don't get another date with her, there's plenty of other fish in the sea, right? Issei managed a weak smile, though the unease in his chest hadn't gone away. Yeah. I guess so. As the boys continued their conversation, Rias walked away, her mind racing. She had heard Naruto mention Yuuma's name, something that should have been impossible. Rainere's presence had been erased from everyone's memory, as was the case with most supernatural events involving humans. Yet Naruto, a seemingly ordinary human, had remembered her. Rias's eyes narrowed slightly as she pondered this new development. Naruto Uzumaki was becoming more of a mystery by the day, and she knew she couldn't afford to ignore it any longer. As she walked away, Rias resolved to keep a closer eye on both Issei and Naruto. Something strange was happening, and she intended to find out what it was. A gentle, sorrowful voice echoed in Naruto's ears, pulling him back to consciousness. He blinked, his vision adjusting to the figure before him. It was the same man from his fragmented dreams, the one who seemed familiar yet distant. The man had a bald head and wore the simple, flowing robes of a monk. His kind expression was tinged with a profound sadness. Who are you? Naruto demanded, his voice unsteady. And what are you doing in my head? The monk smiled softly, though his eyes betrayed a heavy sorrow. So, it is true, you have returned at last. Returned? What are you talking about? Naruto took a step back, his heart pounding. You must have the wrong guy. The monk's smile faded slightly, and he shook his head. You don't remember, do you? But that's to be expected. Memories of a past life are often buried until the right moment. Naruto frowned, rubbing his temples as the dull ache in his head persisted. Past life? What are you talking about? Who are you? The man's gaze softened. I am Xianzang, the monk who once journeyed with you to seek enlightenment. You were my protector, my disciple, my friend. But you were more than that. Naruto, or should I say, Sun Wukong, the Monkey King, great sage equal to heaven. Naruto staggered as the words hit him like a tidal wave. Suddenly, scattered fragments of memory began piecing themselves together. He saw glimpses of another life, a fierce warrior with golden hair wielding a mighty staff, battling demons and gods across vast lands while traveling alongside this very monk. No, this can't be real, Naruto muttered, clutching his head as memories flooded in. I'm just Naruto Uzumaki, a normal kid. Suinzen's expression was heavy with sorrow. I wish it were that simple, my old friend. But you have been reborn into a world unlike the one we once knew. The trials ahead will test you in ways we never faced before. Naruto squeezed his eyes shut as the pain in his head intensified. Why does my head hurt so much? Why are these memories showing up now? Before Xianzang could answer, the sky above began to shift. The warm twilight gave way to a dark, foreboding purple, and the air grew thick with unnatural energy. Naruto's eyes snapped open as he sensed the change, turning to see his friend Issei screaming and fleeing from a shadowy figure. Issei! Naruto shouted, but when he turned back, Xianzang had vanished. There was no time to process what had just happened. Naruto raced toward Issei, fear and anger fueling his steps. A tall, menacing figure cloaked in dark robes stood between them. The stranger's wide-brimmed hat obscured much of his face, but his presence radiated malice. Issei, run! Naruto yelled. Issei trembled, his face pale. Naruto, that guy, he just appeared out of nowhere. You should have stayed hidden, little devil, the man sneered, his voice laced with contempt. With a swift motion, he hurled a spear at Issei. Naruto's eyes widened in horror as the spear flew faster than he could react. It struck Issei, sending him crashing to the ground. Blood pooled around his stomach as he gasped in pain. Issei! Naruto screamed, only to be blocked by the dark figure. Black wings unfurled from the man's back. Fallen angel wins. The stranger sneered at Naruto. A human? How pathetic. No matter, I can't leave witnesses. Rage and fear battled within Naruto as he glared at the fallen angel. What the hell did you do to him? The angel smirked, raising his hand to attack. You should have run while you had the chance. Now you'll die, too. He hurled a blast of dark energy at Naruto, but instead of harming him, it bounced harmlessly off. Naruto looked down, stunned to see himself completely unharmed. The fallen angel's confidence faltered. What? How? Thunder rumbled as the sky darkened further, and golden light flared around Naruto, forming the shape of a cross. The radiance grew blinding, crackling with energy. The angel staggered back. What the hell? What are you? Naruto's eyes snapped open, glowing with an intense blue light tinged with gold. His body radiated power, and as he raised his hands, an invisible staff materialized. The world around them trembled as energy rippled outward. Across the realms, gods and celestial beings felt the disturbance, a presence not felt in ages. The Monkey King had returned. The angel tried to flee, but Naruto swung the unseen staff with incredible force. The blow sent the angel crashing into a tree. Before Naruto could finish him, crimson light illuminated the park, and Rias Gremory appeared with Akeno and Konako. They immediately assessed the situation: the angel's dark energy, Issei's fading life force, and Naruto's overwhelming power. Rias's eyes widened. What is this power? Akeno's usual calm faltered. I've never felt anything like it. Konako stared in stunned silence. Naruto turned to Issei, who lay bleeding out. Rage reignited within him as he faced the angel. You won't hurt anyone else. Realizing he was outmatched, the angel tried to retreat, but Naruto brought the staff down, shattering the earth beneath him. Rias knelt beside Issei, healing him. Hold on. I'm not letting you die. The park fell silent as the dark clouds dispersed. Naruto stood frozen, the golden light fading as his hands trembled. Akeno approached cautiously. Naruto, what did you just do? Naruto shook his head, staring at his hands. I don't know. It just happened. I wanted to protect Issei, and then everything exploded. Konako's voice was quiet but firm. That wasn't normal. It was ancient, something beyond devils. Naruto's heart raced as he tried to process it all. I don't know what that was. I just wanted to protect my friend. Rias, glancing up from Issei, studied Naruto carefully. Whatever this power is, it's not something we can ignore. We need answers. Issei's awareness stirred, pulling him slowly from the depths of slumber toward the edge of wakefulness. The cozy warmth of his bed and the softness of the sheets tempted him to stay nestled in comfort, yet something felt off, unfamiliar. A faint aroma of vanilla and roses drifted through the air, a scent not typical of his usual mornings. His eyes fluttered open, and for a moment, he simply stared at the ceiling, struggling to shake off the haze of fragmented dreams. Memories of the previous night flickered in his mind: the ambush by the fallen angel, the agonizing pain, Naruto's overwhelming power, and then, darkness. He groaned softly, trying to make sense of it all. Was it just a dream? Turning his head to the side, his heart nearly stopped. There, lying next to him, was Rias Gremory, completely unclothed. Her long crimson hair cascaded across the pillow, and her porcelain skin seemed to glow in the morning light. Her serene expression made it look like this was the most natural thing in the world. Issei's eyes widened as his face flushed crimson. What the? His outburst stirred Rias, who opened her eyes slowly. Her deep blue gaze locked onto his, and for a moment, silence hung between them as the reality of the situation sank in. Good morning, Issei, Rias greeted softly, her voice laced with amusement. She stretched slightly, the movement accentuating her figure and making Issei's heartbeat quicken. He yanked the sheets up to cover himself, though it did nothing to hide the fact that Rias was still bare beside him. Gee, good morning. What are you doing here? And why are you? Rias chuckled lightly, her expression calm and reassuring. Relax, Issei. There's no need to panic. Issei blinked rapidly, his face burning. And no need to panic. You're naked? In my bed. Rias smiled warmly, sitting up slightly while keeping the sheets draped over her. Yes, I am. And so are you. Looking down, Issei realized he was just as undressed beneath the covers. His face turned even redder as he scrambled to process the situation. What's going on? How did this happen? Rias gently placed a hand on his shoulder, her touch both warm and soothing. Issei, you were gravely injured last night. You were on the brink of death, but I saved you. The memories of the attack, the pain, and the darkness suddenly came rushing back. Issei's breath hitched as he pieced it together. So, it wasn't a dream. I'm really a devil now. Rias nodded, her expression turning serious. Yes, you are. You're part of my peerage now, Issei. That means you're one of my servants, but more importantly, you're part of a new family. I'll guide you through what it means to be a devil and help you unlock the potential of your sacred gear. His mind spun as he tried to take it all in. Sacred gear? What's that? Rias's eyes softened as she explained. A sacred gear is a special ability that only certain people possess. It's the reason the fallen angel targeted you, and it's also what makes you unique. We'll uncover its potential together, but for now, focus on resting and recovering. Issei nodded, still overwhelmed but reassured by her calm demeanor. But, why are you in my bed? He asked, his voice wavering. Rias chuckled again. It's part of the healing process. Devils have different customs, and this is one of them. But if it makes you uncomfortable, I can leave. Issei quickly shook his head, his face still red. And no. It's not that. I'm just not used to this. Rias smiled knowingly. That's understandable. But there's no need to be nervous. We're connected now, and I'm here to support you. Issei took a deep breath, steadying himself. Okay. I think I'm starting to understand. But, what happens next? Rias's expression turned more serious. For now, focus on recovering. Once you're ready, we'll begin training you to use your sacred gear and master your new abilities. There's a lot to learn, but I'll be with you every step of the way. Issei nodded, his nerves beginning to settle. Despite the strangeness of the situation, Rias's presence was oddly comforting. He felt a spark of excitement at the possibilities that lay ahead. Rias gave him a final reassuring smile before slipping out of bed. She reached for a robe draped over a chair and wrapped it around herself. I'll give you some time to get dressed. When you're ready, come downstairs. There's much to discuss. As she left, Issei sat in silence, the weight of his new reality sinking in. He was no longer just an ordinary student. He was a devil, part of a world he had never imagined. Yet, despite the uncertainty, he couldn't help but feel a flicker of anticipation. This was the start of something extraordinary, and he was ready to face whatever came next. Meanwhile, Naruto approached the gates of Kuoh Academy, the morning sun casting a warm glow over the grounds. Everything looked the same, yet he couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted. The events of the previous night lingered like a half-remembered dream. The attack, the surge of power, and then, nothing but fragments. He tried to focus on the routine of the school day, letting the familiar sights and sounds ground him. But as he walked through the halls, it all felt distant, like watching a scene unfold through glass. In class, Naruto struggled to keep up with the lesson, his thoughts tangled. The memory of the energy he unleashed lingered, leaving him with more questions than answers. At lunch, he found himself seated across from Issei, who was already digging into his food. "Man, last night was insane, huh?" Issei said with a grin. Naruto managed a small smile. "Yeah, how are you feeling?" Issei shrugged. "Better, I guess. Rias explained a lot, but I'm still wrapping my head around it. Being a devil and all, it's pretty crazy." Naruto nodded, still grappling with his own doubts. "I don't know what happened with me. It's all a blur." Issei leaned in. "Rias thinks it might be something ancient. Do you think it's connected to your past?" Naruto stared at his food, his appetite gone. "Maybe. I've always felt something was missing. Now, everything feels different." Issei smiled, offering support. "We'll figure it out together, man. You're not alone." Naruto felt a bit of the weight lift. Whatever came next, he knew this was just the beginning. The golden rays of the setting sun stretched across Kuoh Academy as the school day drew to a close. While most students were eager to head home or meet up with friends, Issei had a different priority. After the strange events of the previous night, he felt it was vital to keep Naruto informed, especially since Rias had specifically requested to speak with him. When the final bell rang, Issei made his way through the crowded hallways, weaving past groups of students. His eyes scanned the area until they landed on Naruto, who stood near the school entrance, lost in thought as he leaned against the wall. "Naruto!" Issei called out, waving as he approached. Naruto blinked, snapping out of his thoughts. "Hey, Issei. What's going on?" Issei smiled, though there was a note of seriousness in his expression. "I need you to come with me to the Occult Research Club. Rias wants to talk to you about what happened last night." Naruto frowned slightly, pushing off the wall. "Rias? Why does she want to talk to me? About what?" "She didn't give details," Issei admitted, scratching the back of his head. "But I think it has to do with that power you used. She's got questions." Naruto hesitated, the memory of the previous night still vivid and disorienting. He wasn't sure he was ready to confront what was happening to him, but he also knew he couldn't avoid it forever. If Rias had answers or at least a way to uncover them, he needed to hear her out. "All right," Naruto said at last, nodding. "Lead the way." Relieved, Issei gestured for him to follow. Together, they made their way through the school toward the old building that housed the Occult Research Club. As they walked, Naruto couldn't shake the mixture of apprehension and curiosity bubbling within him. The strange events of the previous night weighed heavily on his mind, and he hoped Rias could offer some clarity. When they reached the club room, Issei knocked before opening the door, motioning for Naruto to step inside. The room was spacious, filled with an aura of mystery. Rows of bookshelves lined the walls, and a large, ornate desk dominated the back of the room. The glow of candlelight cast dancing shadows across the space, adding to its mystique. Ria sat at the desk, her crimson hair cascading over her shoulders like a waterfall of fire. She looked up as they entered, her expression calm but focused. Akeno Himejima stood beside her, a serene smile on her lips, while Konako Tujao sat quietly on a couch near Kibayu Uto. Konako's gaze lingered on Naruto with her usual impassive demeanor. "Welcome, Naruto," Rias greeted him, her voice warm yet serious. "Thank you for coming. Please, take a seat." Naruto nodded and took his spot on the couch next to Issei. He felt the weight of their stares, adding to the tension that had been building since the previous night. Rias leaned forward slightly, her gaze unwavering but kind. I know the last 24 hours have been overwhelming, and I appreciate you being willing to talk. We need to discuss what happened last night and the power you used. Naruto took a steadying breath. I'll answer what I can, but, honestly, most of it's a blur. Rias nodded thoughtfully. That's understandable. What you experienced was extraordinary beyond the powers of humans, devils, or fallen beings. It's ancient and powerful, and we don't fully comprehend it. Akeno added gently, we're not here to judge you, Naruto. We want to help you understand what's happening. Whatever this power is, it's part of you now. It's important we figure out what it means. Naruto glanced at Issei, who gave him a reassuring nod. Turning back to Rias, he said, what do you want to know? Rias folded her hands on the desk, her gaze steady. First, tell me what you remember. Do you recall anything specific about the moment you unleashed that power? Naruto frowned, piecing together fragments of his memory. It's hard to explain. I felt this surge of energy, like something was awakening. Then there was pressure, like I was holding something invisible. After that, everything blurred. Konako finally spoke, her voice soft but firm. The power, it felt different. Ancient. Unlike anything I've sensed before. Naruto nodded slowly. I've been getting these flashes memories, maybe. But they're not mine, or at least they don't feel like mine. I keep seeing this monk-like figure. He keeps talking to me, calling me Son Wukong. Rias's eyes widened slightly, exchanging a quick glance with Akeno before turning back to him. Son Wukong? The legendary monkey king from ancient mythology. Naruto shrugged. I guess? I don't know much about him, but the memories they feel real. Like they're a part of me. Akeno's expression grew more serious. Son Wukong is a mythical figure, a being of immense strength and skill. If these memories are tied to you, it could mean you're either his reincarnation or somehow inherited his powers. Rias nodded. The power you used could be a manifestation of that link. But we need to investigate further. We need to understand its significance and its risks. Naruto absorbed their words, the puzzle pieces slowly fitting together. It was overwhelming, but it also felt like a revelation. So, what now? Rias's smile was reassuring. We take it step by step. We'll research this power and help you train to control it. You're not facing this alone. Relief washed over Naruto. Despite the fear and uncertainty, he knew he had allies. Thanks, he said sincerely. I appreciate it. Rias's smile softened. We're in this together. No matter what it takes, we'll find the truth. Meanwhile, far beyond the mortal world, the celestial court buzzed with unease. In the grand hall of heavenly order, the Jade Emperor, ruler of the heavens, sat upon his throne, his gaze fixed on a shimmering golden cloud. The artifact pulsed with a power the Emperor hadn't felt in centuries. Son Wukong. The Jade Emperor whispered, his voice heavy with meaning. The name stirred both awe and dread among the celestial beings gathered. Long ago, the Monkey King had defied the heavens, bringing chaos before finally being subdued. The Jade Emperor believed that era was long over, but now, the presence of Wukong's power threatened to upend the balance. Turning to his trusted general, Erlang Shen, the Emperor issued a command. Find the one who carries Wukong's power. Assess his strength and determine his intent. The realms may depend on it. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the wooden floors of the training hall, where Naruto was locked in an intense sparring match. The hall, a place where he had spent countless hours sharpening his combat skills, served as a refuge, a sanctuary where he could lose himself in the rhythm of battle and momentarily escape the strange occurrences unfolding in his life. Today, however, his opponent was no ordinary adversary. It was Lee, a fellow martial artist renowned for his unwavering enthusiasm and dedication to training. Li's boundless energy and passion for combat were well known throughout the town. With his distinctive bowl-cut hairstyle and thick eyebrows, he was hard to miss, but it was his indomitable spirit that left a lasting impression on everyone he encountered. Naruto. Li called out, his voice filled with excitement as he assumed a defensive stance. I can feel the energy radiating from you today. Let's give this match everything we've got and push ourselves beyond our limits. Naruto smirked, his own adrenaline building as he squared off against Li. You got it, Li. Let's go all out. With that, the two launched into a blur of kicks and punches, their movements swift and precise. Li's hand-to-hand combat abilities were near legendary, and he moved with speed and fluidity that few could match. But Naruto, with his newfound mastery of advanced martial arts, proved himself more than capable of keeping up. Li unleashed a rapid barrage of kicks, each one faster than the last. Naruto dodged and countered, his body moving with a fluid grace that belied the ferocity of the fight. As they sparred, Naruto felt himself slipping into a state of heightened focus, his actions becoming more instinctive and powerful. Your techniques have improved dramatically, Naruto. Li said between strikes, his admiration evident. I can see the results of your dedication and hard work. This is the fire of determination. Naruto couldn't help but grin at Li's enthusiasm. Thanks, Li. But I'm not done yet. Li followed up with a spinning kick aimed at Naruto's head, but Naruto ducked just in time, avoiding the blow by mere inches. In response, Naruto countered with a sharp kick of his own, forcing Li to leap back to avoid the hit. Impressive! Li exclaimed, his eyes gleaming with excitement. Your movements are sharp and precise? This is the kind of challenge I've been craving. As the fight raged on, Naruto felt something stir deep within him, a strange sensation, like an ancient memory struggling to surface. Each strike, each movement seemed to pull him closer to something hidden within himself. Suddenly, the dojo seemed to fade away, and Naruto found himself standing in another place, a realm that existed only in his mind. He saw himself clad in crimson robes, his reflection in a pool of water revealing a different figure entirely, one with fierce eyes and an aura of unstoppable power. In that moment, he was no longer just Naruto Uzumaki. He was someone else, a figure of legend. The vision was fleeting but jarring enough to throw him off balance. Sensing the lapse, Li lunged forward with a high-speed kick aimed at Naruto's midsection. But before the blow could connect, Naruto's body reacted instinctively, dodging with incredible speed and countering with a strike that sent Li sprawling to the mat. The impact was powerful, shaking the wooden floorboards. Li lay flat, staring at the ceiling in awe. Naruto! Li gasped as he propped himself up on his elbows, a wide grin spreading across his face despite his defeat. That was incredible. The strength and speed of your techniques truly inspiring. Breathing heavily, Naruto extended a hand to help Li up. Thanks, Li. I don't know what came over me, it just happened. Li took Naruto's hand and leapt to his feet, his excitement undiminished. You've truly grown, Naruto. This is the result of dedication and effort. But remember, the path of growth never ends. We must keep pushing forward every day. Naruto chuckled despite the confusion still swirling in his thoughts. You're right, Li. We'll keep getting stronger together. But as the two exchanged smiles, a sudden pain pierced Naruto's head. He staggered back, clutching his temples as his surroundings blurred. Everything went dark. In the void, flashes of another world filled his mind, memories that felt foreign yet familiar. He saw towering mountains, their peaks hidden in clouds. He saw celestial beings radiating light and heard the clash of weapons echoing through the heavens. And then he saw him. A boy, barely more than a child, with crimson skin and eyes that burned like fire. The boy smirked, his expression both sinister and knowing. Found you, the boy said, his voice echoing in Naruto's mind. It was a voice heavy with malice and expectation, as if he'd been searching for Naruto for a very long time. Naruto gasped and snapped back to reality, his heart racing and sweat pouring down his face. The pain faded, but the image of the red-skinned boy lingered, sending a chill down his spine. "Naruto, are you all right?" Lee asked, concern in his voice as he stepped closer. Naruto nodded, trying to steady his breathing. "Yeah. I'm fine. Just a little dizzy." Lee frowned but offered an encouraging smile. "You probably pushed yourself too hard. Rest and recovery will fix that in no time." Naruto forced a smile, though his thoughts still churned. "Thanks, Lee. I think I just need some air." Without waiting, Naruto stepped outside, letting the cool evening air wash over him. He tried to shake off the unease, but the boy's words echoed in his mind. "Found you." Who was that boy? What did he mean? Was it connected to the strange power stirring within him? Or was it something far more dangerous? Naruto didn't have answers, but one thing was clear, this was only the beginning. Whatever was coming, he would face it head on. Naruto woke up the next morning with an unsettling sense gnawing at the back of his mind. The memories from the previous day, the images that had surfaced during his training match with Rock Lee still clung to him, casting a shadow over his thoughts. He rubbed his eyes, trying to shake off the remnants of the uneasy dreams that lingered, but the feeling of discomfort persisted. Taking a deep breath, Naruto rose from his bed and began preparing for the day. He reached for his usual uniform but hesitated, choosing instead to wear an orange shirt. The bright hue gave him a bit of comfort, reminding him of his true self. Before stepping out of his small apartment, Naruto glanced at a photo hanging on the wall. It was an old image of his parents, capturing a time when things had been simpler. His mother, Kushina, with her vibrant red hair and warm smile, and his father, Minato, with his serene eyes and confident stance. Though they had been gone since he was young, their presence still lingered in his heart. "Good morning, Mom." "Good morning, Dad," Naruto muttered softly. "I'm off now. See you later." With that, he stepped outside into the cool morning air. The sky was clear, and the sun shone brightly, but Naruto couldn't shake the nagging unease that weighed on him. The visions, the boy in red, everything seemed to linger. As he walked toward Kuoh Academy, trying to clear his mind, something caught his attention. A young girl with long blonde hair, dressed in a nun's attire, was walking ahead of him. She appeared to be struggling, her steps faltering, and before Naruto could react, she tripped and fell. Naruto rushed over, pushing his own worries aside. "Hey, are you all right?" he asked, kneeling down beside her. The girl looked up at him with wide, innocent green eyes, her cheeks flushed with embarrassment. "Oh, I'm so sorry," she said, her voice soft and apologetic. "I didn't mean to cause any trouble." Naruto flashed her a reassuring smile and helped her back to her feet. "No problem at all. Just be careful next time, all right?" The girl's face brightened with relief. "Thank you. I'm new here and still trying to get my bearings. I was actually looking for the church, but I think I took the wrong turn." Before Naruto could say anything, a familiar voice called out to him. He turned to see Issei jogging toward him, grinning. "Hey, Naruto. There you are." Issei called out. "I've been looking for you, man." Naruto waved and motioned toward the girl. "Hey, Issei. Just helping someone out." He turned back to the girl. "By the way, I didn't catch your name." The girl's cheeks flushed a deeper shade of pink, and she clasped her hands nervously. "Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Aja. Aja Argento." Naruto smiled warmly. "Nice to meet you, Aja. I'm Naruto Uzumaki, and this is my friend, Issei Hyudu." Issei greeted her, clearly charmed by Asia's gentle demeanor. "Hi, Asia. Nice to meet you." Asia returned a shy smile. "Thank you. I'm really glad I ran into both of you. I was feeling a little lost." Naruto thought for a moment before offering, "Would you like us to walk you to the church? We can show you the way." Asia's eyes brightened with gratitude. "That would be wonderful. Thank you so much." Naruto chuckled. "No problem. Let's go." As they walked, Naruto couldn't help but notice how Asia's pure and innocent aura seemed to stand in stark contrast to the growing darkness he felt in his own life. She seemed to embody everything good and kind, while he felt himself drawn into something far more dangerous and uncertain. They chatted along the way, and Asia shared stories about her time in Europe and her excitement about serving at the church. Naruto found her presence soothing, and even Issei seemed genuinely interested in her tales. Suddenly, a small boy dashed past them, tripping and falling. Before Naruto or Issei could react, Asia hurried over, kneeling beside the boy. "Are you okay?" Asia asked softly, her voice filled with concern. The boy sniffled, clutching his scraped knee. "It hurts." Asia smiled gently. "Don't worry, I'll take care of it." Naruto and Issei watched in astonishment as a soft, green light emanated from Asia's hands, healing the boy's injury within moments. The boy looked down, amazed. "Wow. It doesn't hurt anymore." Asia patted his head affectionately. "All better now." Naruto stared in awe. "Asia, that was amazing. How did you do that?" Asia blushed, glancing down at her hands. "It's a gift I've had since I was little. A blessing from God." Naruto's admiration for her deepened, but he couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to her story, a burden she carried because of her gift. "Well, I think it's incredible," he said sincerely. Issei nodded enthusiastically. "Yeah. That was awesome." The boy's mother thanked Asia before leading him away, leaving Naruto deep in thought about the mystery surrounding the girl. As they neared the church, its Gothic architecture loomed before them. Naruto couldn't shake the nagging feeling that something about this place wasn't quite right. Naruto glanced at Issei, who seemed to share his unease. "This place feels off," Naruto muttered. Issei nodded in agreement. "Yeah, there's something about this church that's giving me the creeps." Asia, however, remained cheerful, completely unaware of the tension building around her. As they approached the doors, Naruto couldn't shake the thought of what awaited them inside. The school day was moving along normally when Naruto received an unexpected summons. He had just wrapped up a math class, his thoughts drifting as he absent-mindedly doodled in his notebook when one of the student council members, Sabeki Shinra, approached. "Naruto Uzumaki." Sabeki called, grabbing Naruto's attention. Naruto blinked in surprise. Yeah, that's me. What's going on?" "The student council president, Sauna Shidori, wants to see you in her office," Sabeki said formally. "Please follow me." Naruto furrowed his brow, wondering why the student council wanted to meet with him. He wasn't exactly a troublemaker, so it wasn't likely a disciplinary issue. Shrugging it off, he gathered his things and followed Sabeki through the hallways toward the council's office. As they reached the door, Sabeki gestured for him to enter. "She's waiting for you." Naruto nodded, taking a deep breath before stepping into the room. The office was well kept and orderly, with bookshelves lining the walls and a large desk in the center. Behind the desk sat Sauna Shidori, the student council president, known for her no-nonsense attitude and sharp mind. She looked up as Naruto entered, her expression calm and composed. "Naruto Uzumaki, thank you for coming." Naruto gave a brief nod, still unsure about the reason for the meeting. No problem. You wanted to see me?" Sauna motioned for him to sit. "Yes, please take a seat." Naruto sat down, glancing around the room. He noticed a few other student council members standing nearby, including a tall boy with spiky blonde hair and a smirk on his face, Saji Genshiro, if he remembered correctly. Once Naruto was seated, Sauna leaned forward slightly, her gaze scrutinizing him. "I've heard some interesting things about you, Naruto." Naruto raised an eyebrow, feeling a bit uneasy. "Interesting things? Like what?" Sauna smiled faintly, though it didn't quite reach her eyes. "I've heard from Rias Gremory that you possess a unique power. A power that's unusual, even among those in the supernatural world." Naruto's heart skipped a beat at the mention of Rias. He hadn't expected her to share anything with Sauna, and the fact that she had only made him more uneasy. "And what does that mean to you?" he asked, his tone guarded. Sauna's smile faded, her expression becoming more serious. "Naruto, there's something you need to know. I'm not just the student council president here at Kuoh Academy. Like Rias, I'm also a devil. My true name is Sana Satrai, and I lead a peerage of devils under my family's banner." Naruto stared at her, caught off guard by the revelation. For a moment, he just blinked, processing the information. "So, you're a devil too?" he muttered, incredulity lacing his voice. "Of course you are. It seems like everyone here knows about the supernatural except me." Sana's expression softened slightly as she observed his reaction. "I understand this is a lot to take in, but that's precisely why I wanted to speak with you. I believe you could be an invaluable ally, and I'd like to extend an offer for you to join my peerage." Naruto tilted his head, clearly surprised. "Join your peerage? Why me?" Sana folded her hands on the desk, her tone calm but firm. "Rias recently gained a powerful asset, the Red Dragon Emperor. I find myself in need of someone to balance things out, so to speak. With your abilities, you could not only help even the odds but also grow stronger." Naruto leaned back in his chair, his mind racing. It was clear that Sana saw something in him, something that she believed could be useful. But the idea of joining a peerage, of becoming a devil, it didn't sit well with him. After a long moment of silence, Naruto shook his head. "Thanks, but no thanks. It's not like being a devil's bad, but I just want to stay as myself." Sana raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "Stay as yourself? What do you mean?" Naruto hesitated, his eyes dropping to the floor, sadness creeping in. He hadn't intended to say so much, but the words came out before he could stop them. "I don't want to be Sun Wukong, the Monkey King, or the Great Sage equal to heaven. I just want to be Naruto. Naruto Uzumaki." Sana's eyes widened slightly, her calm demeanor slipping just for a moment. "Sun Wukong? The Monkey King? You mean to say that you're—" Naruto sighed, running a hand through his hair. "Yeah. I thought Rias might have told you, but I guess she didn't mention that part." Before Sana could respond, Saji, who had been listening skeptically, couldn't hold back any longer. "Yeah, right," Saji scoffed. "This guy? Some kind of god? Come on, President, you really believe that?" Sana shot Saji a sharp glance, silencing him, before turning her attention back to Naruto. "There's only one way to test this," she said thoughtfully. Reaching into her desk drawer, she pulled out a small, ornate box. Opening it, she revealed a set of black chess pieces, each one exuding a faint, otherworldly energy. Naruto eyed the pieces with confusion. "What are those?" "These are evil pieces," Sana explained. "They're used to reincarnate humans into devils, making them part of a devil's peerage. If you truly are something different, whether a god or otherwise, then these pieces will react in a specific way." Naruto frowned, still unsure. "And what would this prove?" Sana selected a single piece, a rook, and held it out to him. "If you're a normal human, this piece will reincarnate you as a devil. But if you're something more, it will be rejected, and we'll know for sure. Naruto hesitated, glancing at the piece. He wasn't entirely sure what to make of it, but the curiosity in Sana's eyes told him she was serious. After a moment, he nodded. All right. Let's give it a shot. Sana's expression remained neutral as she approached Naruto, holding the pawn piece carefully in her hand. It might feel strange, but it won't hurt, she reassured him. Naruto nodded, bracing himself for whatever might come next. Sana pressed the pawn piece against his chest, and for a brief moment, nothing happened. Then the piece began to glow with a soft, crimson light as it slowly sank into his body. Naruto felt a strange warmth spreading through his chest, followed by an overwhelming surge of power. Suddenly, the entire building trembled. The windows rattled, and the floor shook violently, as though an earthquake had struck. Sana and the others jumped, ducking as books and papers fell from the shelves. The evil piece inside Naruto's body glowed brighter, but instead of settling into place, it was forcefully ejected from his chest, flying across the room with such force that it embedded itself in the wall behind him. Sana's eyes widened in shock, her calm composure completely shattered. What just happened? Naruto, still breathing heavily, looked at her with a mixture of sadness and resolve. I guess that clears things up, he said quietly. Saji, who had been crouching behind a desk to avoid the chaos, slowly stood, his eyes wide with disbelief. No way. That really happened. Sana walked to the wall where the evil piece had lodged itself, carefully pulling it out and inspecting it. The piece was intact but now drained of its energy, as though it had been rendered useless by whatever force resided within Naruto. Sana turned back to him, her expression one of awe and confusion. So, you really are Sun Wukong, the Monkey King? Naruto nodded, a bittersweet smile tugging at his lips. Yeah. I guess I am. But like I said, I just want to be Naruto Uzumaki. For a moment, silence filled the room. Everyone seemed to be processing what had just transpired. Naruto was more than they had ever encountered before, something that couldn't be defined by the usual supernatural rules. Sana sighed softly, her expression softening as she met Naruto's gaze. I understand. I won't press you further. But know this: whatever power you have, it's a part of you now. You can't ignore it, no matter how much you want to. Naruto nodded, appreciating her understanding. I know. And I'll deal with it, my way. Sana gave a small, respectful nod. If you ever change your mind, my offer still stands. You'd be a valuable ally, and I believe we could accomplish great things together. Naruto gave a faint smile, though the sadness in his eyes remained. Thanks, Sana. I'll think about it. The meeting ended, and Naruto left the student council room, the weight of his newfound identity heavy on his mind. As he made his way down the empty hallways of Kuoh Academy, he couldn't help but wonder what the future would hold, and if he would ever escape the shadow of his past. As the group walked through the town, the mood grew more serious. Naruto walked next to Rias, Issei, Akeno, Kiba, and Konako, his mind still tangled with the questions surrounding his true nature. Though doubts persisted, he remained resolved to assist his friends, even if he was unsure of his place. The streets gradually quieted as they ventured toward a more isolated area on the town's edge. The sun was setting, casting long shadows that made the environment feel eerie, almost unnatural. Issei, always eager for answers, glanced at Rias. What's the situation with this rogue devil? Are they dangerous? Rias nodded solemnly. Rogue devils are former members of a peerage who have broken away. They pose a significant threat because they no longer follow the rules of the underworld and often succumb to darker instincts. This one has been causing issues nearby, and it's our responsibility to eliminate it before it harms anyone. Naruto listened carefully, processing the information. The idea of fighting someone who had once been human was unsettling, but he understood the importance of dealing with the threat if it truly existed. So, what do we know about this devil? Naruto asked, seeking more details. Akeno, who had been silent up until that point, spoke. She was once part of a low-tier peerage, but after being cast aside by her master, she turned violent. She's been hiding in an abandoned factory on the outskirts. Kiba added, missions like these can get tricky, but if we stay focused and cooperate, we should be able to handle her. Issei looked at Naruto, his excitement mixed with nervousness. Don't worry, man. With you here, we're practically unstoppable. Naruto chuckled at Issei's enthusiasm, though his doubts remained. Let's just get this done without anyone getting hurt. As they approached the factory, the temperature seemed to drop, and an ominous feeling settled over them. The building was a decrepit relic, long forgotten and left to decay. Its broken windows and crumbling walls made it look like a ghost of a structure. Ria stopped just before the entrance, her eyes narrowing as she sensed the dark energy within. This is it? Stay alert. The group nodded, preparing for what lay ahead. Rias led the way, followed by Akeno, Kiba, and Konako. Issei trailed behind, his usual cocky attitude subdued by the gravity of the mission. Naruto, ever cautious, stayed at the rear, his senses heightened for any threat. Inside the factory, the atmosphere was suffocating. The air was thick with the scent of rust and decay, and the faint drip of water echoed through the eerie silence. Rias gestured for the group to spread out. The tension was palpable as they advanced deeper into the building. Naruto could feel his pulse quicken, the weight of the mission pressing on him. Then, a low growl echoed from the darkness, sending a chill down Naruto's spine. The sound was unnatural, full of raw, primal fury that sent waves of unease through the group. Stay sharp, Rias whispered, barely audible. She's close. They pressed forward, every step increasing the tension. The growling grew louder, more intense, until the source of the sound finally emerged from the shadows. From the darkness stepped a creature that was both grotesque and oddly captivating. The figure appeared female but was twisted beyond recognition. Her skin was a sickly pale, veins dark under the surface. Her hair was a wild mess, and her eyes glowed with malice. The most disturbing aspect, however, was her exposed chest, which she seemed to flaunt with disturbing pride. Issei's eyes went wide, his jaw slack as he took in the sight before him. Whoa, this is... The rogue devil, Visser, smirked at Issei's reaction. Oh? Do you like what you see, boy? She taunted, her voice dripping with mockery as she pressed her hands to her chest. I'm not shy about showing off. Naruto, still in disbelief, sighed. Why is everyone always doing this now? What is going on? Visser giggled at the attention, but the gleam in her eyes suggested something far darker. Poor, innocent boys. Maybe I'll show you more if you survive. Before anyone could react, magical symbols appeared around her chest, glowing with a sickly green light. She unleashed poisonous streams of liquid from them, the venom spraying out with deadly accuracy. Move. Rias shouted, signaling the group to scatter. Naruto and the others quickly dodged, narrowly avoiding the poison that sizzled and ate through the floor. Issei, barely evading the attack, looked at Visser, horror mixing with regret. This isn't the kind of situation I signed up for. Naruto, still stunned by the absurdity of the encounter, shot him a look. Issei, now's not the time. Visser laughed, enjoying the chaos. Don't worry, boys. There's plenty more where that came from. Kiba, focused and determined, stepped forward. We need to neutralize her now. She's not just playing games, she's dangerous. Konako nodded seriously. We can't afford another attack. Stay sharp, everyone. Rias advanced, her eyes narrowing with resolve. Visser, your reign of terror ends now. But Visser wasn't going down easily. She laughed maniacally as more magic circles appeared, her venomous attacks growing more erratic and dangerous. The group moved quickly, dodging and evading as best as they could. Naruto, trying to find an opening, felt frustration building inside him. This battle was unlike anything he had faced before, and the absurdity of it was starting to wear on him. But he knew he couldn't let his friends down. With a deep breath, Naruto centered himself, tapping into his hidden power. He wasn't sure if it would work, but he had no other choice. Just as Visser prepared another deadly assault, Naruto moved with unnatural speed, closing the gap between them in an instant. He kicked at the magic circles, shattering them and causing them to flicker and disappear. Visser reeled, her smug expression turning to fury. How dare you? Naruto didn't hesitate. He pressed the attack, his movements a blur of grace and power. Each strike disrupted Visser's magic, forcing her back and weakening her defenses. The others quickly followed, seizing the opportunity. Kiba's sword slashed through the air, cutting through Visser's corrupted form. Konoko's blows shook the ground beneath them. Rias, seeing her chance, unleashed a devastating surge of demonic energy, a blast of crimson light that engulfed Visser. The rogue devil's scream echoed as she was consumed by the power, her twisted form disintegrating into nothingness. When the light faded, all that remained was a wisp of smoke, which soon dissipated into the air. The group stood still, breathing heavily, processing the battle. Issei was the first to speak, his voice shaky but relieved. Well, that was definitely something. Naruto, still in shock, let out a deep breath. Yeah, something. Rias approached, gratitude and concern in her eyes. You did great, Naruto. Thanks for helping us. Naruto shrugged, a small smile tugging at his lips. I'm just glad I could help. That was intense. Kiba nodded, sheathing his sword. You were amazing, Naruto. You really stepped up when we needed you. Konoko simply gave him a thumbs up. Issei, despite the weirdness of it all, grinned. Man, you really saved us there. But seriously, what was up with that devil? I've seen some strange stuff, but that. Naruto chuckled, shaking his head. Let's just say I've had enough surprises for one day. Ria smiled at the group, her pride evident. We did well. Let's head back, we've earned a break. The tension from the battle had mostly faded as they made their way back to the occult research club. The once heavy air was now replaced with camaraderie and relief. Inside the club room, the group settled in, the events of the day still lingering in their minds. Kiba and Konoko were the first to leave, offering Naruto a nod of thanks before heading out. Rias, Akeno, Issei, and Naruto remained behind. Rias stretched, clearly content. I think we all deserve a bit of rest after that. Issei, however, was distracted. His gaze followed Rias as she began to unbutton her uniform, preparing for a shower. Naruto didn't miss the shift in Issei's expression, his thoughts clearly far from the mission. I'm going to freshen up, Rias said casually, heading toward the shower. Try not to get into too much trouble while I'm gone. As soon as Rias disappeared, Issei muttered under his breath, his mind clearly drifting to fantasy. Shower. Rias, naked. He grinned. Naruto sighed, shaking his head at his friend's antics. Why am I even friends with you? He muttered, his disbelief evident. Akeno, who had been watching with an amused glint in her eyes, decided to play along. She moved closer to Naruto, her teasing smile spreading. Naruto-kun, she purred, her voice full of mischief, you always look so serious. Don't you ever relax? She leaned closer, her chest brushing against his arm, causing Naruto's heart to race. Naruto stiffened, his thoughts scattered as her presence overwhelmed him. He tried not to look at her, but it was difficult with her so close. What are you doing? He stammered. Akeno's smile grew wider as she teased him. Just seeing how you react, she whispered. But I can see you're quite the reserved one, huh? Naruto's face turned red as he desperately tried to avoid eye contact. I'm not really into. Before he could finish, Rias returned, interrupting the moment with a sly grin. What's going on here? Are you two up to something? Akeno shrugged innocently, her hands behind her head as she looked at Rias. We were just talking, nothing more. Naruto, still flushed, cleared his throat. Yeah, just talking. Rias smirked, sensing the tension in the room. Well, let's get back to the matter at hand. We still have a lot to discuss. And with that, the group settled back into the usual routine, though Naruto couldn't shake the feeling that things were about to get much more complicated. The early morning sun peeked through the curtains of Naruto's room, bathing the space in a soft, golden glow. He groggily shifted beneath the sheets, the remnants of a restless night lingering in his mind. Despite trying to forget the events of the day before, Akeno's playful teasing, the encounter with the rogue devil, and the strange memories that had begun to surface kept him tossing and turning. With a low groan, Naruto sat up, rubbing his tired eyes. He knew he couldn't afford to waste any time today. There was too much to figure out, too many unanswered questions swirling in his mind. He needed to confront whatever was happening to him, even if he didn't know where to start. After a quick shower, mercifully far quieter than the chaos of the previous evening, Naruto threw on his usual hoodie and jeans before heading out. The streets of Kuoh Town were alive with morning bustle as the locals went about their routines. Naruto blended into the crowd, but there was an unsettling sense that he was no longer the same. Something had changed inside him. As he walked, his thoughts drifted to his friends. Issei had been his usual self, always thinking about the next time he might see Rias or Akeno. Naruto smiled, appreciating the normalcy of it, but there was an undercurrent of unease. Then there was Rias, calm, collected, but with an inner warmth that made him feel like he belonged. And Akeno? Akeno was a different story. Her teasing had stirred feelings in him that he didn't quite understand. I can't keep pushing this away, he thought as he neared the school gates. I need to understand what's happening, and I need to control it. The day at Kuoh Academy started like any other, with students chatting between classes and teachers preparing for their lessons. Naruto tried his best to focus on his studies, but his mind kept drifting back to the strange events of the past few days. He felt like he was caught between two realities, his ordinary life and the supernatural one that was slowly becoming his reality. During lunch, he joined Issei and the usual crew. True to form, Issei was full of energy, his thoughts always drifting to his next encounter with Rias or Akeno. Naruto couldn't help but chuckle at his friend's enthusiasm, though a knot of anxiety tightened in his stomach. He was still trying to come to terms with his identity and figure out how to blend the mundane with the extraordinary. Yo, Naruto. Issei greeted, waving a hand in front of his face. You seem a little out of it today. Everything good? Naruto forced a smile, not wanting to worry Issei. Yeah, just thinking about some stuff. Issei leaned in with a mischievous grin. Thinking about Akeno, huh? I saw how she was messing with you yesterday. I get it, she's Issei. Naruto interjected, his cheeks flushing. He quickly waved off the conversation. It's not like that. Issei laughed. Sure. Anyway, what's the plan for after school? I was thinking we could hang out in the club room. Naruto hesitated. The idea of spending more time in the club room, especially with Akeno around, was both thrilling and terrifying. But he knew he couldn't keep avoiding the situation. He had to face whatever was happening to him. Yeah, I'll be there, Naruto finally said, determination creeping into his voice. There's stuff I need to figure out. Issei shot him a curious glance but didn't press the matter. All right, sounds good. Maybe we'll get some action like yesterday. Who knows what Rias has planned. When the school day ended, Naruto made his way to the occult research club with a mix of nerves and anticipation. He knew today would be significant. He couldn't keep running from the questions inside him. Upon entering the club room, he saw Rias, Akeno, and Issei already there, along with Kiba and Konako. Glad you could join us, Rias greeted warmly. We were just about to go over a new mission. Naruto nodded and sat beside Issei, feeling the weight of the moment in the air. We've received reports of another rogue devil in the area, Rias explained, her expression serious. This one is particularly dangerous, and we'll need to be cautious. Kiba leaned forward, his focus unwavering. Do we know where it's hiding? Rias nodded. It was last spotted near an old warehouse on the outskirts of town. We need to act fast before it causes more harm. Akeno's usual playful demeanor had shifted to one of caution. Let's be prepared. This mission won't be easy. As they strategized, Naruto's unease deepened. There was something different about this mission, something that felt far more dangerous than anything they had encountered before. And deep down, he knew his personal struggles could complicate things even further. Suddenly, the windows of the club room exploded as a powerful force crashed through, sending glass scattering. Everyone instinctively ducked as a towering figure landed in the center of the room, the remnants of the shattered window surrounding him. He wore traditional Chinese armor, his long black hair tied in a warrior's top knot. His cold, piercing gaze locked onto Naruto. Son Wukong, the man's voice boomed, commanding and deep. I finally found you. Naruto's heart skipped a beat as memories from his past life as the Monkey King flooded his mind. He recognized this man, Erlang Shen, the god who had once been his rival. Erlang Shen, Naruto muttered, unable to take his eyes off the god before him. The others tensed, sensing the growing threat. Rias stepped forward, eyes narrowing. Who are you, and what do you want with Naruto? Erlang Shen turned his gaze to Rias, a smirk playing at the edges of his mouth. Ah, if it isn't Surtsk's Lucifer's little sister, he sneered. This doesn't concern you, little devil. Before anyone could react, Erlang Shen moved with blinding speed, grabbing Naruto by the throat and lifting him off the ground with ease. Naruto struggled for breath, his hands instinctively clawing at Erlang's iron grip. Stop! Rias shouted, her fury evident as she began to summon her demonic power. Erlang Shen barely acknowledged her. This is between me and the monkey. Stay out of it. With a swift motion, Erlang Shen leaped backward, crashing through the window he had just entered from, taking Naruto with him. The force of the impact sent them flying through the air, and before Naruto could make sense of what was happening, Erlang Shen hurled him across the city. Naruto's body soared through the air, the city below a blur. He crashed into the roof of an abandoned building, the impact reverberating through his body. Groaning in pain, Naruto struggled to his feet, his mind spinning. What just happened? He wondered, his body aching from the attack. Erlang Shen's strength had been overwhelming, he had easily overpowered him. Back at the club room, Rias and the others were left in stunned silence. The only evidence of the confrontation was the shattered window and the distant sound of the crash. Rias clenched her fists, determination blazing in her eyes. We need to find Naruto, she said, her voice resolute. We can't let Erlang Shen get away with this. The group quickly gathered their things and prepared to search for Naruto. As they left the club room, Rias couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning of a much greater conflict, one that would test them all in ways they couldn't yet imagine. Meanwhile, Naruto stood amid the rubble of the abandoned building, his body aching from the impact. He could feel the power of the Monkey King stirring within him, but he still wasn't sure how to control it. He knew Erlang Shen wouldn't give him much time to figure it out. As if on cue, Erlang Shen appeared above him, his eyes locked onto Naruto with a predatory gleam. He descended slowly, landing gracefully, knowing he had the upper hand. "You've grown weaker, son Wukong," Erlang Shen sneered, his voice laced with contempt. "Or perhaps you've forgotten who you truly are." Naruto glared, his mind racing. He knew he couldn't win by relying on brute strength alone. He needed to tap into the power of the Monkey King, but on his own terms. "I'm not the Monkey King anymore," Naruto declared, his voice steady despite the fear in his heart. "I'm Naruto Uzumaki." Just as Naruto began to rise, Erlang Shen delivered a crushing blow to his chest, sending him crashing into a nearby wall. Naruto gasped for air, his body screaming in agony, but he refused to give up. "Is this really all you have?" Erlang Shen taunted. "Pathetic. You're not even worth my time." Naruto's anger and frustration boiled over. "I'm not finished yet." But despite his will, his body refused to move. As Erlang Shen moved closer, preparing for the final blow, something snapped inside Naruto. The world around him faded, and he found himself falling into a vast, empty darkness. The sounds of battle vanished, leaving him alone in the void. He walked toward a distant light, driven by an instinct he couldn't explain. As he neared it, the light revealed a figure, chained to the ground. It was a version of himself, darker, more primal, with fiery red eyes that seemed to pierce through the shadows. "You're not ready," the figure spoke, its voice cold and unforgiving. "But I can help you." Naruto lay on the ground, battered and bruised, his body aching from the fight. Erlang Shen stood over him, prepared to strike the final blow. But something had shifted in Naruto. He no longer felt fear, no longer hesitated. He knew what had to be done. With slow determination, Naruto pushed himself up, his gaze fixed on the sky above. "Come," he murmured, his voice filled with newfound resolve. Ryujing bang. The air around him crackled with energy. A loud crash echoed through the heavens, the sound growing stronger until, with an earth-shaking roar, the legendary staff Ryujing bang descended from the sky, straight into Naruto's outstretched hand. A lightning strike tore through the sky, the ground around him shaking with power. As the light enveloped Naruto, it slowly faded, leaving him standing tall and transformed. His eyes now glowed a vibrant blue, golden pupils blazing with raw strength. A white loop of binding circled his head, a mark of his control over the overwhelming force he now commanded. Erlang Shen's expression shifted slightly, recognizing something. "I was wondering when Wukong would arrive." Naruto's grip tightened on the staff. He wasn't Wukong, not the way Erlang Shen believed. He was someone new, someone stronger. "No," Naruto declared, his voice clear and unwavering. "I'm not Wukong. I'm Naruto Uzumaki." With a swift motion, Naruto thrust the staff toward Erlang Shen. "Grow, Jink bang." The staff responded with speed, expanding rapidly as it flew toward Erlang Shen. The god barely managed to react before the staff slammed into him, sending him reeling back. But Naruto wasn't finished. As the staff continued to grow, he ran with it, his movements fluid and purposeful. He leapt into the air, using the momentum to land a powerful blow on Erlang Shen's face, sending him crashing to the ground with a thunderous impact that shook the city. Across the town, Rias and her peerage, in search of Naruto, spotted the massive staff in the distance. The legendary weapon, surrounded by crackling energy, was a sight none could ignore. "That's..." Issei began, wide-eyed. Ria stared in awe, her heart pounding. "Naruto." Back on the battlefield, Naruto stood tall over the fallen Erlang Shen, his staff in hand. He knew the battle wasn't over, but he had proven something important to Erlang Shen and to himself. Erlang Shen slowly pushed himself up, his eyes narrowed with a mix of anger and something else, respect, perhaps. "You've changed, Naruto Uzumaki." But be warned, the heavens will always be watching. You will be under their scrutiny. Naruto tightened his grip on the staff. I'm not afraid of them. I'll protect my friends and my world, no matter the cost. Erlang stood, his expression unreadable. We will meet again, Naruto Uzumaki. And when we do, the heavens will have their answer. With a final glance, Erlang launched himself into the sky, vanishing from sight. The battle was over, but Naruto knew it was just the beginning. As he stood there, staff in hand, Naruto felt an unfamiliar sense of clarity. He was no longer just Naruto Uzumaki. He wasn't Wukong either. He was someone new, powerful and ready to face whatever lay ahead. Naruto stood in the midst of the wreckage, his breath heavy, the weight of the Ryujin Bang still in his grasp. The loop of binding around his head pulsed faintly before fading from view. Despite the physical changes, he was still Naruto, but the battle with Erlang had shown him something deeper. He wasn't just a boy anymore, he was becoming something more. With a deep breath, he shrank the staff back to its original size and secured it behind him. He needed to return to the Occult Research Club, to regroup with his friends, explain what had happened, and reassure them that, despite everything, he was still the Naruto they knew. As he walked through the city, passing by those who stared in awe and fear, Naruto couldn't help but feel the weight of their gaze. But he focused on one thing: getting back to the club room. The door to the Occult Research Club burst open, and Naruto entered, his exhaustion evident but his resolve unshaken. Rias, Akeno, Issei, Kiba, and Konako were already there, their faces a mix of concern and surprise. Naruto. Issei was the first to speak, rushing to his friend. Are you okay? What the heck happened out there? Naruto managed a tired smile, trying to lighten the mood. Yeah, I'm fine. Just had a little run-in with an old acquaintance. Ria stepped forward, her expression a mixture of relief and curiosity. Erlang. I've heard of him, but I never expected him to show up in Kuoh Town. Naruto nodded, taking a seat as the weight of the day began to settle in. He's testing me, to see if I'm a threat to the heavens. He thinks I'm still the Monkey King. The room fell silent as they absorbed his words. Akeno, usually the first to speak, was quiet for a moment before asking, and are you still the Monkey King? Naruto stared at his hands, the memory of the staff's weight still fresh. I don't know. I'm starting to remember things, pieces of a life that isn't mine. But I'm not the same person. I'm Naruto Uzumaki, and I have to figure out how to be both. Kiba placed a comforting hand on his shoulder. You don't have to figure it out alone. We're here for you. Konako nodded, her usual stoicism softened. We'll help you, Naruto. Just like you've helped us. Naruto felt a wave of gratitude. Despite everything, his friends were still by his side, ready to support him in whatever came next. Rias's voice cut through the moment of silence. Erlang won't be the last one to come after you. The heavens are watching. We need to prepare for more. Naruto nodded, the weight of her words sinking in. I know. But I won't let them control my life. If I have to fight, I will. But I'll do it on my terms. Ria smiled, respect clear in her eyes. That's the Naruto we know. We'll stand by you, no matter what. The tension in the room eased as they shared a moment of solidarity. But the looming threat of future battles hung in the air. As the evening drew on, the group discussed their next steps, planning for the challenges ahead. Rias laid out strategies, Akeno and Kiba offered their insights, while Konako kept a watchful eye on Naruto. Issei, typically the comic relief, was unusually serious. So, what do we do if more gods show up? We can't exactly take on the heavens, can we? Rias shook her head. We don't need to fight the heavens. Our goal is to protect Kuoh Town and its people. If the gods see us as a threat, We'll show them we're not their enemies. But we also need to be ready to defend ourselves. Naruto listened carefully, knowing they were right. But the power he now wielded and the threat of future battles lingered in his mind. He couldn't let this power control him, but he couldn't shy away from using it to protect his friends. As the meeting ended, Naruto found himself alone in the club room, lost in thought. The city lights twinkled outside, life moving on even amidst the chaos. A voice echoed in his mind, pulling him from his thoughts. "You did well today, Naruto Uzumaki." Naruto stiffened, recognizing Wukon's voice. The other part of him. "Wukong," Naruto whispered, narrowing his eyes. "What do you want?" "I'm here to help you, whether you like it or not." Wukong's voice was calm, almost amused. "We're in this together. The more you remember, the stronger we become." Naruto clenched his fists. "I don't want to be just Wukong. I'm Naruto. I have my own life, my own friends. I won't let this power take over." Wukong laughed, his voice reverberating in Naruto's mind. "You're stronger than you think. But you need to stop being afraid. Embrace the power, and make it yours. That's the only way to survive what's coming." A surge of defiance rose within Naruto. "I'll use this power, but I'll do it my way. I won't let anyone dictate who I am." Wukong's amusement faded. "Good. Just remember, the path ahead is dangerous. You'll need all the strength you can muster." The presence faded, leaving Naruto alone once more. This time, however, he felt a little more in control. As he gazed out at the city, Naruto knew that this was just the beginning. More challenges, more enemies, but he wasn't alone. With his friends and the strength within him, he was ready. Respite or warning as the boy closed the distance between them in the blink of an eye. Naruto's instincts kicked in, and he barely managed to sidestep the boy's attack, his heart racing. The boy was faster than most humans, but there was something more, something dark behind his movements, like a personal vendetta that fueled his every action. Naruto, now fully alert, felt the weight of the situation settling on his shoulders. This wasn't just some random encounter. This was something much deeper, and that feeling in his gut, the one that told him he was connected to this stranger, somehow intensified. The boy stood, glaring at Naruto, his red hair wild and his hands trembling with barely contained rage. "You should have stayed in the shadows, Wukong. But now you're here, and I'm going to make you remember everything." Naruto held his ground, still uncertain about who the boy truly was or why he seemed so fixated on him. "I told you, I'm not Wukong. I'm Naruto Uzumaki," he said, his voice more confident this time. "But if you're looking for a fight, I'm not backing down. So bring it." The boy's grin twisted further, his expression feral. "You're not Wukong, huh? Then you'll suffer the consequences of that mistake, Naruto Uzumaki." Before Naruto could process the words, the boy lunged once more, but this time Naruto was ready. As the boy closed in, Naruto used his enhanced reflexes to sidestep the attack, slamming his fist into the boy's ribs with a brutal, precision-driven strike. The force sent the boy skidding back, but he quickly recovered, growling low in his throat, his eyes blazing with fury. "You're still too weak, Wukong," the boy hissed, wiping a trickle of blood from his mouth. "But I'll enjoy breaking you." Naruto gritted his teeth. His mind raced to make sense of the situation, but it was becoming more and more clear that this wasn't a fight of chance, it was personal, and it was connected to his past, to the very thing he had yet to fully remember. The boy charged again, but Naruto, fueled by an instinct he couldn't fully explain, summoned his strength. He was determined to end this encounter on his terms. With a swift motion, Naruto raised his hand, his chakra flaring, and just as the boy closed the distance, he thrust his palm forward. A surge of raw energy blasted from his hand, sending the boy crashing into a nearby wall with an explosive force. The impact left a crater in the concrete, and the boy slumped against the rubble, gasping for breath. Naruto stood over him, his chest heaving with exertion. "Who the hell are you?" he demanded, his voice low and dangerous. The boy, now visibly weaker but still defiant, looked up with eyes filled with venom. "You still don't remember?" he said with a bitter laugh. "Fine. Let me remind you." The boy staggered to his feet, his body trembling with both pain and rage. His hands trembled as dark energy began to crackle around him, and in that moment, Naruto realized he had been right. This wasn't just some normal opponent. There was something deeply supernatural about him. Naruto's mind flashed back to his conversation with Wukong. The gourd, the memories, the power. Was this boy connected to all of that? And if so, what did that mean for him? What did he need to do to make sense of this madness? Before Naruto could react further, the boy's energy surged violently, and he launched himself at Naruto once again. Naruto could feel the immense weight of the Rebirth in his hands, the power within it urging him to release it. But he knew if he surrendered fully to that strength, if he let the might of Wukong take control, he risked losing everything he had fought so hard to protect. Yet, as the flames closed in on him, something within Naruto shattered. The instinct to safeguard his friends, his life, and his future overpowered his fear. There was no turning back. With a fierce yell, Naruto allowed Wukong's power to surge through him, finally accepting the transformation he had long resisted. The Rebirth pulsed with radiant golden energy, and Naruto's body was engulfed in a blinding light. His hair shimmered with a fiery golden hue, and his eyes gleamed, glowing with a deep, intense blue and golden pupils. The loop of binding appeared around his head, signaling his newfound strength. The flames that had surrounded him vanished, dissipating as Naruto's aura expanded, now commanding and intense. He stood transformed, a figure of pure power. The red boy stared in stunned disbelief. "No, this isn't possible. You're not supposed to have this power." Naruto said nothing in response. Instead, he raised the Rebirth, the staff stretching to an enormous size in an instant. With a single swing, he sent a shockwave crashing toward the red boy, the force of the impact tearing apart the ground and sending the red boy skidding backward. The red boy groaned in pain, struggling to get up. His eyes burned with hatred, but there was a flicker of fear now. He hadn't anticipated Naruto tapping into Wukong's power so quickly, and the realization that he was still outmatched filled him with frustration. Naruto approached, calm but resolute, his gaze unwavering. "I don't want to fight you," he said, his voice steady and firm. "But I won't let you destroy everything I care about." The red boy clenched his fists, glaring up at him. "You think this changes anything? Just because you can wield that power, you think I'll back down? I'll never forgive you, Wukong, or whatever you become." Naruto sighed and lowered the Rebirth slightly. "I'm not asking for your forgiveness. I know what Wukong did to you was wrong, and it won't be easy to change things. But continuing this fight won't bring you the peace you seek." The red boy's face twisted in fury. "Peace? There's no peace for me. The only thing I want is for you to be destroyed." Naruto shook his head, his tone unwavering. "That won't happen." The red boy let out a furious roar and charged at Naruto, summoning what little energy he had left. But as he lunged forward, something shifted inside him. The overwhelming power radiating from Naruto, the perfect control over Wukong's strength, caused the red boy to hesitate for the briefest moment. At the last second, his attack faltered. He knew he couldn't win, at least not like this, and the thought of being bested by Wukong's reincarnation again was too humiliating to endure. Frustrated and snarling, the red boy ceased his assault, his fiery aura dimming. He took a step back, still filled with rage, but now tempered by a cold determination. "This isn't finished," he spat. "I'll be back. Next time, I won't hold anything back. I'll make you regret this, mark my words. Naruto remained silent, his transformed state slowly fading. The Ryujin Bang shrank back to its normal size, and he rested it on his shoulder, looking weary but resolute. I'll be ready, Naruto replied quietly. But there's always another way. The red boy glared at him one last time, before disappearing into the shadows. His form dissolved into the darkness, leaving behind a charged silence. As the night returned to its normal rhythm, Naruto stood alone, the sounds of the world slowly returning. He exhaled deeply, the rush of battle slowly ebbing from his body as he tried to process what had just happened. You handled yourself well, Wukong's voice echoed in his mind. But don't lower your guard. The past has a way of catching up when you least expect it. Naruto sighed, feeling the weight of those words. I'll be ready, he said quietly, though part of him wasn't entirely certain what that truly meant. As he walked back home, his mind churned with questions. Who else from Wukong's past might come after him? What other challenges awaited? And how could he balance the shadows of his past with the future he hoped to build? Naruto woke with a start, his body still tense from the events of the previous night. The confrontation with the red boy lingered in his mind, the boy's words echoing ominously, "This isn't over. I'll be back at full power." As the morning light filtered through his window, Naruto sat up in bed, his muscles sore and his mind heavy. The peaceful life he had once known felt distant, like a fleeting memory replaced by the constant threat of danger. He couldn't shake the feeling that someone, or something, was watching him, waiting for the next opportunity to strike. Naruto swung his legs over the edge of the bed and stared at his hands, remembering the surge of power he had unleashed the night before. The transformation, the power of Wukong, it had felt both exhilarating and terrifying. He had barely scratched the surface of what that power could do, but he knew it wasn't something he could take lightly. Always be ready, Wukong's voice echoed in his mind, calm but firm. You don't know who or what might come for you next. Keep your guard up, and don't let fear control you. Naruto let out a deep breath and nodded to himself. He wasn't just Naruto Uzumaki anymore, he was the reincarnation of Son Wukong, the Monkey King. And that meant enemies from the past, enemies like the Red Boy, would continue to hunt him down. He couldn't afford to relax, not even for a moment. He stood and made his way to the bathroom, splashing cold water on his face to clear his mind. Today was another day at school, but it felt different now, like the normalcy he had once known was slipping away. The walls of Kuoh Academy didn't feel as safe anymore, not with everything happening in the supernatural world around him. Naruto quickly dressed in his school uniform but hesitated before heading out the door. His hand instinctively reached for the Ryujin Bang, his trusty staff, which had returned to its normal size after the battle. It was too large to carry around in public, but the thought of leaving it behind made him uneasy. He had felt the weight of it in his hands, the power it contained, and he wasn't sure if he could face what was coming without it. As he stared at the staff, Wukong's voice spoke again in his mind. Why are you carrying it like a walking stick, kid? Shrink it down and keep it somewhere you can reach anytime. Naruto blinked, surprised at the suggestion. Shrink it down. Wukong chuckled, the sound resonating with ancient wisdom and mischief. The Ryujin Bang is a part of you now. You don't need to lug it around like a big stick. Just shrink it down and keep it somewhere convenient. Like I used to. Naruto raised an eyebrow. Convenient? Like where? Wukong's voice took on a playful tone. In your ear. Small enough to fit, but always there when you need it. Trust me, it's battle ready in an instant. Naruto wasn't entirely sure how he felt about keeping a magical staff in his ear, but the logic behind it was undeniable. He needed to be ready for anything, and the idea of having the staff always within reach was appealing. He focused on the Ryujin Bang, recalling its ability to change size at will. With a deep breath, Naruto visualized the staff shrinking, its weight lightening in his hand. Slowly, the once massive weapon began to shrink, becoming thinner, smaller, until it was no larger than a needle. Amazed at how effortlessly the staff transformed, Naruto held the tiny version of the Ryujinkuban between his fingers. Wukong's voice encouraged him. Now, just tuck it into your ear. It'll sit there quietly until you need it. No one will even know it's there. Naruto hesitated for a moment, still unsure about sticking his weapon into his ear, but he trusted Wukong's advice. With a quick motion, he carefully placed the miniature Ryujinkuban into his right ear. To his surprise, it fit perfectly, and he didn't feel its presence at all. It was as though the staff had vanished, hidden in plain sight but ready to be called upon at a moment's notice. Naruto grinned, feeling a sense of relief wash over him. He could now walk around without worrying about being caught off guard. He was armed, even if no one else could see it. Thanks, Wukong, Naruto muttered under his breath as he grabbed his skull bag and headed out the door. This actually makes me feel a little better. Wukong's laughter echoed in his mind. You'll get used to it. Just remember, don't hesitate to use it when the time comes. You've got a lot of power, don't let fear keep you from using it. As Naruto made his way to school, the usual sights and sounds of Kuoh Town seemed distant. His senses were heightened, his body tense, ready to react at any moment. Even the calm, ordinary streets felt like they were hiding potential threats. Every shadow, every passing stranger, seemed like they could be an enemy in disguise. It wasn't paranoia. Naruto knew that with the Red Boy's warning still fresh in his mind, he had to be prepared. He had crossed paths with someone from Wukong's past, and it was only a matter of time before more enemies found him. The supernatural world had its eyes on him, and the title of Monkey King was not something that came without consequences. As he approached Kuoh Academy, the familiar sight of students walking through the gates, chatting with friends, and going about their day reminded him of how much had changed for him. While everyone else continued living their normal lives, Naruto was constantly looking over his shoulder, waiting for the next attack. He sighed as he stepped through the school gates, trying to calm himself down. He couldn't afford to be on edge all the time. He still had a life to live, and school wasn't going to wait for him to figure everything out. As he walked the halls of Kuoh Academy, his usual carefree stride replaced by a subtle tension. Something wasn't right, and he could feel it in the air. The whole morning had felt off, and now, as the school day edged toward lunch break, that unsettling feeling had only grown stronger. Issei, normally loud and constantly talking about something or another, usually about Rias or girls, was nowhere to be found. Naruto had checked their classroom, the courtyard, even the rooftop, but there was no sign of his pervy friend. Rias and the rest of her peerage were also missing. He hadn't seen Kiba, Konako, or Akeno since they all arrived at school. Normally, Rias would have at least acknowledged his presence with a knowing glance, but today, nothing. It was like they had all vanished without a trace. Where the hell did they all go? Naruto muttered under his breath as he navigated through the busy hallways, students rushing toward the cafeteria. The absence of his friends left him uneasy. It wasn't like Rias or Issei to disappear without a word. He had hoped to get more insight into last night's events, but with everyone missing, his mind was filled with even more questions. Were they avoiding him, or was something bigger going on that he wasn't aware of? As the lunch bell rang, Naruto's thoughts drifted to another possibility. If Rias and her peerage were nowhere to be found, perhaps Sana Satrai might have answers. Sana was someone who always had her finger on the pulse of what was happening at Kuoh Academy and in the supernatural world. Maybe she knew where Rias and the others had gone. Nodding to himself, Naruto decided to pay Sana a visit during lunch break. He made his way toward the student council room, hoping to find some answers. The student council room was a world away from the chaotic energy of the school hallways. As Naruto approached, he could hear the faint sound of papers shuffling and the steady click of a pen. Everything about the room seemed orderly and precise, a stark contrast to the unpredictability of his own life. Naruto knocked on the door and waited for a response. After a brief pause, a familiar voice called out, "Enter." Naruto stepped inside, finding Sana sitting at her desk, reviewing a stack of documents. Her ever-present, composed demeanor gave off an air of authority. Beside her stood Tsubaki Shinra, Sana's queen, and loyal vice president of the student council. Sana looked up from her work, adjusting her glasses as she eyed Naruto curiously. "Naruto Uzumaki," she said in her usual calm, measured tone. "What brings you here during lunch break? I assume this isn't just a casual visit." Naruto crossed his arms, not bothering to hide his concern. "Rias and her peerage are missing. Issei too. I haven't seen them all day, and it's starting to feel like something's up. I figured you might know what's going on." Sana's expression remained calm, though a flicker of understanding crossed her face. "I see. That explains why you've been wandering the school this morning." Naruto blinked in surprise. "You knew I was looking for them." Sana gave a small nod. "I keep an eye on things around here, Naruto. It's my duty as president of the student council, after all." She paused, then motioned for Tsubaki to leave them for a moment. Once the door closed behind Tsubaki, Sana turned back to Naruto, her expression more serious. "Rias and her peerage are not missing, Naruto," Sana began, folding her hands in front of her on the desk. "They were called away to deal with an urgent matter involving a stray exorcist. From what I understand, the exorcist attacked the Red Dragon Emperor, Issei, and we are currently investigating his whereabouts. There is also a strange energy surrounding this incident." Naruto's eyes narrowed as the word sank in. "An exorcist? The Red Dragon Emperor? The strange energy?" Everything felt like it was leading to something bigger, something connected to his own battle with the Red Boy. Sana's expression softened slightly. "I suggest you stay alert, Naruto. We don't know what this exorcist is after, but I have a feeling you may find yourself involved sooner than you'd like." Naruto didn't need to hear any more. With a nod, he left the student council room and headed out into the school, a sense of unease settling in his chest. The pieces were slowly falling into place, and he had the feeling that everything was about to change. As he walked through the hallways, his thoughts raced. He had no choice but to prepare for the coming storm. There was a sense of urgency in the air now, an urgency that told him he couldn't ignore the supernatural threats closing in on him. But he couldn't let fear control him. Not now, not when he had so much power. He was Sun Wukong, the Monkey King, and nothing was going to stand in his way. As he tightened his grip on the Ryujing bang hidden in his ear, a quiet resolve settled in. The Red Boy might have sent a warning, but Naruto wasn't about to back down. The fight was just beginning. The final bell rang, marking the end of another school day at Kuoh Academy. Students poured out of their classrooms, chatting about the weekend ahead and the homework they had to do, oblivious to the supernatural chaos that simmered beneath the surface of their town. But for Naruto Uzumaki, this day had been far from ordinary. His mind was a whirlwind of concerns about his friends, about Rias, and especially about Issei. The message from Sana, telling him that a rogue exorcist had attacked Issei while trying to protect a nun, gnawed at his thoughts. Now, with no further news, Naruto was left stewing in frustration. As the day wound down, Naruto decided to head to the dojo. He needed to work off the tension, and a rigorous martial arts session seemed like the perfect way to clear his mind. His encounter with the Red Boy still lingered, but right now, his focus had to be on Rias and her peerage. Before making his way to the dojo, Naruto found himself drawn to the school rooftop. It was a quiet sanctuary, far from the bustling halls of students and teachers. The open sky always helped him think clearly, and given the weight of the situation, it was exactly what he needed. Standing on the rooftop, Naruto gazed out at the city skyline, feeling the familiar presence of the Ryujin bang tucked in his ear. It was a comforting reminder that he was never unarmed, never vulnerable. Just as he was about to leave, the sound of rushed footsteps echoed behind him. Turning around, he saw Saji Genshiro, Sana Satri's pawn, breathless from running toward him. Naruto. Saji called out, catching his breath. Wait up. I've got a message for you. Naruto raised an eyebrow, sensing something important. What's going on? He asked, crossing his arms. You don't look like you're here just to chat. Saji took a deep breath, standing tall. Sana sent me. She wanted me to tell you there's more happening than we thought. Apparently, the fallen angels are involved with the church in this mess. Naruto's heart skipped a beat. Fallen angels. The fallen angels? Are you sure? Saji nodded gravely. Yeah, Sana got word a little while ago. The stray exorcist isn't working alone. He's got connections to the fallen angels, and they've been stirring things up around the church. Anger surged within Naruto. The fallen angels. He'd encountered one before Donezeke, the one who'd attacked Issei. The thought of them being involved again, threatening his friends, made his blood boil. Why are they working with the church? Naruto asked, his voice tight. What do they want? Saji shook his head. We don't know yet. But Sana thinks it's part of something bigger. The church and the fallen angels have always had a complicated history, but this feels different. It's not just about territory or old grudges, it's something else. Naruto clenched his fists, feeling the faint pulse of the Ryujin bang against his ear. Does Rias know about this? Saji hesitated. Not yet. She and her peerage were already heading to deal with the stray exorcist when Sana got this information. We haven't been able to reach her yet. Naruto let out a frustrated breath. So she's walking into danger without even knowing it? Saji's expression mirrored Naruto's worry. Sana didn't want to alarm you, but she thought you'd want to know. And since you're not part of her peerage, it's up to you how you handle it. Naruto's mind raced. Rias and her peerage were heading into a dangerous situation without knowing the full picture. The fallen angels, if they were involved, would stop at nothing to get what they wanted. He couldn't sit idly by. If the fallen angels were involved, things were about to get even more dangerous. He turned to Saji, his resolve firm. Thanks, Saji. Tell Sana I appreciate it. I'm going to the church. Saji hesitated. Are you sure? You'll be walking into enemy territory. The church, the fallen angels, the stray exorcists, it's not going to be easy. Naruto's eyes burned with determination. I don't run from a fight. If the fallen angels are involved, I'm not letting them harm my friends. Saji sighed, though there was a hint of respect in his eyes. You're as reckless as Issei, you know that. Naruto smirked. Maybe. But I'm not leaving my friends to fight alone. He glanced once more at Saji before his focus shifted to the church on the other side of town. It would take time to get there, and he knew he didn't have the luxury of waiting. How the hell am I supposed to get there fast? Naruto muttered, frustration building. Running across town would take too long, and he needed to act now. Then, Wukong's voice echoed in his mind, amused. Heh, you're thinking like a mortal, Naruto. That's no problem for the Monkey King. You forget, you're the great sage, equal to heaven. Time to start acting like it? Naruto frowned. What do you mean? You want me to run there? Wukong laughed, a mischievous tone in his voice. Run? No, no. You've got more than just a staff. Trust me on this. Naruto raised an eyebrow, skeptical. So, what? You expect me to magically know how to fly? Wukong's voice grew playful yet serious. Close enough. I want you to run and jump off the building. Naruto's eyes widened. You've got to be kidding. I'll die if I do that. Wukong laughed louder. You won't die, kid. It'll hurt, but trust me, you're tougher than you think. I've got something special for you. Just trust me. Naruto looked down from the rooftop, his heart pounding. He wasn't sure what Wukong had in mind, but there was no other choice. Time was running out. Well, Naruto muttered, I guess I don't have any better ideas. Taking a few steps back, he braced himself. The wind howled around him as he gathered his courage. Saji, watching from below, seemed increasingly worried. What are you doing, Naruto? Saji asked, his voice filled with concern. Naruto smirked, his nerves getting the better of him. Just, give me some space, all right. Saji blinked, confused but stepping back. Wait, you're not thinking. Before Saji could finish, Naruto sprinted toward the edge of the rooftop. His heart raced as he reached the fence, and without another thought, he launched himself into the air. For a split second, there was only the rush of wind in his ears. Then, the ground rushed toward him. Wukong, if this doesn't work, Naruto muttered, bracing for impact. But just as he was about to crash, something shifted. Instead of hitting the ground, he felt the air change around him, and a strange sensation lifted him. He wasn't falling. He was floating. Saji, who had rushed to the rooftop edge, expected to see Naruto plummeting. But when he looked down, his eyes nearly bulged out of their sockets. There, floating above the school grounds, was Naruto riding what looked like a golden cloud. What the hell? Saji stammered, staring in disbelief. Is he riding a cloud? Naruto, still shocked, grinned as he balanced on the fluffy golden surface beneath him. The cloud responded to his every command, gliding smoothly through the air. Wukong's voice rang out in Naruto's mind, proud and amused. That's the somersault cloud, or flying nimbus. One of my best tricks. You should have seen your face, huh? Now, quit wasting time and head to the church. Nimbus will take you there faster than you can blink. Naruto blinked, still processing. Flying nimbus? I thought that was just a myth. Wukong chuckled. Oh, it's no myth. The great sage doesn't walk everywhere, you know. Nimbus will take you wherever you need to go. Now, stop gaping and move it. Naruto grinned, the excitement surging as he leaned forward, guiding the nimbus into motion. The cloud shot forward with a burst of speed, whipping past Kuoh's rooftops. It felt like flying. Not bad, huh? Wukong teased. Now let's get to that church and show those fallen angels what happens when they mess with my friends. Naruto's grin widened as the nimbus picked up even more speed, cutting through the sky. He was on his way. The night air buzzed with tension as Rias and Akeno clashed with the fallen angel duo outside the church. The noise of magic and weapons crashing against dark, corrupt power echoed as sparks flew and deadly beams of light streaked across the sky. Rias, her fiery red hair flowing behind her like a banner, fought with unmatched resolve, her magic surging with raw force. Akeno, beside her, unleashed lightning with precision, her usual playful smile replaced by a steely determination. The fallen angels, strong as they were, had underestimated Rias Gremory's resolve and the wrath that burned within her. You devils are all the same, one of the fallen sneered, his tone laced with venom. Your followers are mere pawns, just like the red dragon. Weak. Useless. At the mention of Issei, fury surged through Rias. Her eyes glowed with an intensity that even the toughest of foes would hesitate to face. Speak again of my servants, and I'll show you why the House of Gremory is not to be trifled with, she spat. With a burst of demonic power, Rias obliterated one of the fallen angels, her fury amplifying her magic. Akeno, never one to be outdone, sent a bolt of lightning that reduced the second to nothing. Breathing heavily, Ria stood amidst the wreckage, the lingering hum of magic still hanging in the air. Akeno landed beside her, her usual smile returning, though her eyes remained sharp with focus. "Are you all right, Rias?" Akeno asked, her voice calm despite the fierce battle. Rias nodded, though her mind was already focused elsewhere. "Yes, but Issei. He's inside. We need to." Before she could finish, a blur of motion caught her eye. Naruto had arrived. Rias turned to see Naruto soaring in on the flying nimbus, his usual carefree expression replaced with one of urgency and focus. "Naruto," Rias called as he landed beside her. "You're here." Naruto nodded, his gaze already locked on the church. "Issei's inside, right?" Rias hesitated before answering. "Yes. He's trying to protect a nun named Asia. But I fear he may be too late." Naruto's heart sank. There was no time for more questions. Without another word, he sprinted towards the church, the nimbus boosting his speed. Without hesitation, he leapt and crashed through the nearest window, rolling to his feet inside. Inside the church, chaos reigned. Shattered stained glass lay scattered on the floor, and the faint traces of magic lingered in the air. Kiba and Konako stood amidst the defeated rogue exorcists, but Naruto's gaze was drawn to the scene at the center of the room. Issei knelt on the floor, clutching something to his chest. "Asia." Naruto's breath caught in his throat as he saw the lifeless body of the nun, her form limp in Issei's arms. The boosted gear on Issei's arm glowed faintly, but the grief in his eyes was undeniable. Tears streamed down his face as he held Asia, his voice barely a whisper. I was too late. She's gone." Issei choked out, his voice raw with emotion. "I couldn't save her. I failed." Naruto kneeled beside his friend, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Issei, it's not your fault. You did everything you could." Issei shook his head, his tears falling onto Asia's lifeless body. "No, she's dead because of me. If I had been stronger." A voice echoed in Naruto's mind, interrupting his thoughts. Well. If it isn't Drake, the Red Dragon Emperor. Been a while since I saw that dragon." Naruto blinked, caught off guard. "Wait, you know Drake?" he muttered quietly. Wukong chuckled. "Yeah, I taught him a lesson once when he and that white dragon were causing trouble near my mountain. Dragons always think they're the best." Naruto sighed, his attention shifting back to Issei. This wasn't the time for distractions. He looked at his friend, his heart aching for him. The battle was over, and Asia was gone. The sadness was thick in the air. But his thoughts were interrupted by a presence he hadn't noticed before. Rainare, the fallen angel who had orchestrated the attack, stood at the far end of the church, her eyes wide with fear. She had seen the destruction Issei's boosted gear had caused, the defeat of her rogue exorcists, and now, she saw him. The boy who had defeated Donezik. The one rumored to be the reincarnation of Sun Wukong, the legendary Monkey King. Rainare's heart raced as panic took hold. She hadn't expected this. She thought she could break Issei, toy with him, but now, she faced someone she was warned to avoid at all costs. Naruto Uzumaki, the reincarnation of Sun Wukong. Her breath quickened as she desperately searched for a way out. In a final, desperate attempt to save herself, Rainare transformed, her appearance shifting back into Yuma, the persona she had used when she first met Issei. Her face twisted in fear as she turned to Issei. "Issei, please, don't kill me," she cried, her voice trembling. "I didn't mean for any of this to happen. I was just following orders. Please, let me go. I'll disappear. I'll never bother you again." But Issei wasn't fooled. His tear-streaked face hardened as he looked at the woman who had deceived him and killed Asia. Rainere's pleas fell on deaf ears. Rias and Akeno entered just as Rainere begged for mercy, and Rias's fury flared. She stepped forward, her hand glowing with demonic energy. "You deserve no mercy," she said coldly, ready to finish what needed to be done. But before she could act, Naruto stepped forward, placing a hand on her arm. She glanced at him in surprise, her rage momentarily tempered by his calm presence. "Let me handle this," Naruto said, his voice quiet yet resolute. "This began because of her. It's only right I end it?" Rias hesitated but then nodded, stepping back to give Naruto the space to act. Naruto turned to Rainere, his eyes locked onto hers with cold determination. He raised his hand to his ear, and with a flick of his wrist, the Ryujing Bang, Sun Wukong staff, appeared in his grip, growing to its full size. Rainere's eyes widened in terror. She knew what was coming. She'd heard the stories. "No please," she whimpered, her voice barely a whisper. Naruto's expression was unyielding. "This is for all you've done. For the pain you caused. For Asia." With a swift, merciless strike, Naruto swung the staff. The blow was precise, and Rainere's form crumbled, dissipating into nothingness. A heavy silence fell over the church. Naruto stood, his grip tight on the staff. He took a deep breath, the weight of what had just happened pressing down on him. There was no satisfaction in what he'd done, only grim resolve. Issei, still holding Asia's lifeless body, looked up at Naruto, tears still flowing. "Thank you, Naruto." Naruto nodded, his own heart heavy with sorrow. "We'll find a way to honor her, Issei. You did all you could." The heaviness of the moment weighed down on everyone, especially Issei. He looked at Asia's pale face, his heart sinking with guilt and grief. Tears still glistened in his eyes, and despite Naruto's words of reassurance, Issei couldn't shake the overwhelming feeling that he had failed her. He had fought so hard to protect her, but in the end, Asia had sacrificed herself to save him. "She didn't deserve this," Issei whispered, his voice thick with sorrow. "She was too pure, too kind. And now she's gone because of me." Naruto placed a comforting hand on Issei's shoulder. "It's not your fault, Issei. You did everything you could." But the sorrow in the room lingered, thick and heavy, settling over them like a dark cloud. Rias watched the scene unfold, deep in thought. She understood how much Asia had meant to Issei, how deeply her loss had impacted him. But beyond that, Rias also felt a strange responsibility toward Asia. The young nun had been thrust into this dangerous world without understanding the full consequences. And now, she had paid the ultimate price. But perhaps it wasn't too late. A flicker of determination sparkled in Rias's eyes as she stepped forward, her voice breaking through the stillness. "I can bring her back," Rias said, her tone resolute yet gentle. Issei's head jerked up, his tear-streaked face filled with disbelief. "What? How can you bring her back?" Naruto turned toward Rias, a mix of curiosity and hope lighting his eyes. "Rias? Are you saying what I think you're saying?" Rias nodded, her gaze firm as she looked at Issei and Naruto. "Yes. I can reincarnate her as one of my servants. She will become a devil, like the rest of my peerage. It's not a simple decision, but I believe Asia deserves another chance." Issei blinked, struggling to absorb what Rias was proposing. "You mean, you can make her a devil? You can bring her back?" Rias took a deep breath, her words measured. "Yes. I can use one of the evil pieces from my set to reincarnate her. She will no longer be human, but she will live again as a devil. It's a way to give her another shot at life." Naruto looked at Asia's lifeless form, then back at Rias. He understood the weight of this decision. Rias was offering Asia a chance to return, but at the cost of her humanity, her faith, and everything she had known. Still, it would give her a second chance to live, to continue on a different path. Do you think Asia would want that? Naruto asked, his voice soft but serious. Rias's gaze softened as she looked down at Asia. I believe she would. Asia was selfless and kind, but she was caught in a world she didn't fully understand. Becoming a devil would grant her the strength to protect herself and to stay with those she cares about. Issei felt torn, his emotions at war within him. But she always wanted to help people. She never wanted to hurt anyone. I don't know if she would want this. Rias knelt beside Issei, her voice gentle but determined. I know it's hard, Issei. But Asia has so much potential. She's strong, even if she doesn't realize it. With her sacred gear, she can do amazing things. I want to give her the chance to do that. Issei stared at Asia's face, his heart pounding. The thought of bringing her back, of having her in his life again, was overwhelming. But the idea of her becoming a devil, leaving behind her human life, it was a hard choice. He didn't know if he had the right to make that decision for her. But Naruto's voice cut through his thoughts. Issei, Naruto said softly, if Asia were here right now, what do you think she would say? She was willing to give everything to protect you. And if this is the only way to give her a second chance, I think she would accept it. Issei looked at Naruto, the weight of the decision pressing down on him. But deep inside, he knew Naruto was right. Asia had chosen to stand by him, even at the cost of her life. And now, if there was a chance to give her another life, he couldn't refuse it. Issei wiped his eyes and nodded, a quiet resolve settling in. Do it? Please, Rias, bring her back. Rias nodded, standing tall and extending her hand. A red, glowing piece of bishop from her set of evil pieces materialized in the air, radiating with power as it hovered above her hand. I'll use my bishop piece, Rias explained, her voice steady as she looked down at Asia's body. Asia's sacred gear, Twilight Healing, is too valuable to lose. This will allow her to keep her power and continue helping others as a devil. Naruto and Issei stood in silent anticipation as Rias knelt beside Asia's body, her hands glowing with magic as she carefully placed the bishop piece on Asia's chest. A soft, red light began to envelop Asia's body, shimmering like a protective aura. The light grew brighter, enveloping Asia entirely until her form seemed to glow with renewed life. Slowly, the bishop piece sank into her chest, disappearing as the magic took hold. Rias focused intently, calling upon the power of the evil pieces. The air around him hummed with energy, and Naruto could feel the magic swirling, a shift in the atmosphere as Rias completed the ritual. A few tense moments passed before the red light began to fade, leaving Asia's body still once more. The room fell into a heavy silence, the magic settling. And then, Asia's fingers twitched. Issei gasped, his eyes wide with hope as he watched her. Asia. Slowly, Asia's eyes fluttered open, her emerald gaze clouded but gradually focusing on Issei, who knelt beside her, his heart pounding. Issei. She whispered, her voice faint but full of life. Issei's breath caught in his throat. Asia. You're back. Naruto grinned, a wave of relief washing over him as he saw Asia's eyes open. She was alive. Rias had succeeded. Rias and Akeno exchanged a look of relief, grateful the ritual had worked. Asia, still confused, sat up slowly with Issei's help. She looked around the church, her memories of the events before her death coming back slowly. What happened? I remember. Rainare, and then. Issei hugged her tightly, tears streaming down his face, but they were tears of joy now. You're okay, Asia. Rias brought you back. You're one of us now, a devil. Asia blinked, her expression a mix of surprise and gratitude. I'm a devil. Rias knelt beside her, her voice soft. Yes, Asia. You've been reincarnated as a devil in my peerage. You're my new bishop. You still have your sacred gear and healing abilities, but now you're stronger. You'll be able to protect yourself. Asia looked down at her hands, still trying to understand everything. It was a lot to take in, but she felt alive. And she was with the people she cared about. She looked up at Issei and Naruto, both smiling at her with relief. Thank you. She whispered, her eyes brimming with gratitude. Thank you for giving me a second chance. Naruto smiled and clapped her on the shoulder. There's no need to thank us. We're just happy you're back, Asia. Issei smiled through his tears, nodding in agreement. Yeah, we're just glad you're here with us. Ria stood, offering Asia a warm smile. Welcome to the Gremory family, Asia. Asia smiled back, her heart swelling with gratitude and happiness. She might not understand all that her new life as a devil would entail, but one thing was clear, she was surrounded by people who cared for her. And for now, that was enough.